whether the team is performing clean or unsightly. We'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly Live, a special edition. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. Well, obviously, cat's out of the bag and the deed is done. Dwayne Haskins, former first-round pick, 15th overall by this organization just a mere draft ago, 2019, released by the team after Sunday's horrific performance in which I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to give you the range of emotions that I had after the game. And I sat here with you. You guys were very therapeutic for me. We went through the whole Dwayne needs to go saga yesterday. And I told you I wanted to hold on to him to see if we could get something. As I was telling you that, in my mind, I'm saying, who the hell wants this guy? Who's going to give you anything for him? Now, I'm pretty sure, and I feel very strongly about this. Someone's going to put in a waiver claim for him. Someone's going to put in, because if you're going to sign Dwayne Haskins, you need to have the ability to have that fifth-year option just in case. And maybe you don't want to pay him what's left on his contract. Maybe that's a little bit too rich for your blood. That might be fine, and he may pass through waivers and then get signed. He's not done. His NFL career is not over. Someone will sign Dwayne Haskins. Trust me. These guys normally get at least one more bite at the apple. When you're a first-round pick and you have talent, someone's going to give you another opportunity. But I said to myself, even as I was telling you and the words were coming out of my mouth, in my mind I'm saying, who the hell would trade you, give you anything for him? I won't even give you a seventh for this guy right now as it stands. And I think they understood that. I think they knew what the situation was, but I don't even know if they were even entertaining that. Let me tell you, and maybe they felt the way that I did. Let me explain to you my range of emotions last night. So I want to start by saying that going into the game, in all last week, every video was kind of centered around the premise, because a lot of you wanted Dwayne gone. There were a lot of you that said, Ron's making his first big mistake as Washington head coach by not at least suspending him. He should be gone. Some of you thought he should be gone. I thought that was a little bit. I thought that was a little bit over the top, a little irrational considering where we were. But it's suspended. I could understand that. Still puts you in the same spot whether you suspend him or you release him, flat out release him. I told you, had he not performed the way he did in the second half against Seattle, he would have been gone. They would have cut him last week. They would have gotten rid of him last week, but they were holding out hope. He teased us. And remember, what did I say at the end of that Seattle game? I said, don't tease us. That's what you're doing right now. You're trying to tease us. You're tantalizing us like you did last year when you decided that you're going to play well, make us all feel like we got the guy, and then you come out and you do what you did the first 4 games of the season. You're teasing us again. At the end of a season, you're showing us what capabilities you have. And it was just enough to fool Ron and to fool Scott into thinking, and Ken and all of those guys into thinking, maybe he can do it next week. If Alex can't go, if what we saw in the second half against Seattle is a sign of things to come, maybe he can do it. And Ron even admitted that yesterday, and we'll get to that. But let me go back. So I said last week that Dwayne needed to play. He needed to start. We were going to win in week 16. What did I tell you? If we're going to win in week 16, Dwayne's going to have to lead us. He wasn't capable of doing that. But that was the right move. I wanted him to start. I too fell for the trap. I too fell for the banana in the tailpipe. I thought that and what did I say? I saw enough. There was enough at the end of Seattle's game for me to feel comfortable that if Alex can't go, Dwayne can handle the load against a 4-10 Carolina team. We'll run it. Dwayne will make smarter decisions. He won't throw in a double and triple coverage. He won't force things. I was wrong. I was flat out wrong. So was Ron. So was everyone else involved. The difference between me and everybody else was that Ron decided that he wanted to hang around until the fourth quarter. I was done at halftime. That's the difference between me and Ron, Scott, and Ken. Is that I was done. The end of the second quarter, when he threw that pick, I was done at that moment. The second pick of the game, third turnover for Dwayne in the first half. I was done. Get him out. Really, I was done after the first pick, second turnover of the game. If you were in the MOBB, I said, get him out now. If you've got any confidence in Tyler, we're not going to do that today. Taylor Heinicke, put him in now. Put him in right now. You got any confidence in Taylor Heinicke, put him in now. Obviously, he didn't know what Taylor was going to do. He didn't know that Taylor was going to come in and play as well as he did. Or he would have made the move sooner. And no idea. Anyway, after the game, so let me go through my range of emotions. I was so disappointed in Dwayne. I wasn't mad. I told you, mad is something that it's fleeting. When you're mad, you can be mad 1 second, you can be happy the next. When you're disappointed, that stings more. Like, I'll give you an example quickly. I told my son one time, I'm disappointed in you. And he looked at me and he said, Dad, I'm sorry. And a week later, he came to me and he said, you've been mad at me before, but when you said you were disappointed, that stung a little bit more. Disappointment is worse than being mad at somebody. Because I could be mad at you now, and 20 minutes later, I'm fine. It's bridge under the water. Let's move on. We're good. When I'm disappointed, it's hard for me to overcome that. You really did something that took the cake this time. There's no coming back from sheer disappointment in this particular instance. After the game was over, and I told you guys this during the overtime show, I said, I don't really want to talk about Dwayne anymore. I'm done with him. I don't care about Dwayne anymore on this football team. I'm over him. And this is when I knew that I was really over him, because on the overtime of the Sunday night game, Packers and Titans, a couple Washington fans were in the show, and they are in the comment section, and they said, hey, did you see Dwayne? He looked really sad and contrite and all that good stuff. And I said, no, I haven't heard it. I just know that the beat reporters were saying that he flaked on the post-game presser. But he did it from home. Whatever. Who cares? So, after the game, every week, after I've filled all my obligations, I sit down and I watch all the pressers, Ron and whomever started at quarterback. And, they usually have about 4 or 5 other players. It's Cam, Sims. It's Cam Curl. This week it was Ron Rivera. It was Dwayne Haskins. It was Chase Young. It was Cameron Curl. It was Cam Sims. And it was Taylor Heinicke. Those were the 6 guys that were made available to the media. And so normally I sit down and I watch every single one of those and listen to what they have to say. I went through Ron's. I went through Taylor's. I went through both Cam's. I went through Chase. And then I doubled back and I said, I don't even want to listen to Dwayne's. I don't care. I don't care what he has to say. It doesn't matter to me. He's done in my mind. I don't want to hear from him. And you said, no. I said, no, stop. Let's see what he's got to say. I put it on. And literally after 30 seconds of seeing his face, I'm like, I can't do this shit. And I turned it off and I didn't go back. I was physically, mentally done, exhausted with Dwayne. For what he's put this team through, for the performance he put out on the field, I had it up to here. My cup overrunneth. The brim was full and it was spilling over. I had no more sympathy. I had no more optimism. I had nothing left to give. I was done. And apparently, Ron, Scott, Ken, and company felt the exact same way. They got nothing else for him. Got no more words of encouragement. No more, hey, it's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. No more sympathy. No more empathy. They were done. Their cup had overrunneth. It was full. They couldn't take anymore. And instead of answering, and I told you guys yesterday, If you really want to dead all the questions, put Dwayne out of the picture. Now, I didn't think they were going to release him, but I was saying, make this guy the fourth string quarterback. He's not even active. Don't ask me about him. They took it a step further. They said he's not even on the roster anymore. Okay? So he'll get questions on Wednesday. That'll be it. You know, what went into the decision to, because and Ron's a smart guy. You know, he does everything strategically. And how do we know this? He could have released Dwayne before his press conference. He chose to wait until afterwards. Nothing really changed between 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock, you know, or 12:30 when the news was released that Dwayne was going to be put on waivers. He could have released him first thing this morning. But he knew that he'd have a firestorm and Dwayne conversation would overtake everything that he wanted to say about, you know, Sunday and about the upcoming game. And so he waited. Now, those questions aren't going to go away. All he did was give them 2 more days to come up with more Dwayne questions. What went into the decision? You know, did you guys think at any point that you could salvage it? Did you think about trading him? Like, he's going to get all those questions still. And hopefully he'll be mentally prepared for that. Because I think in his mind, he feels like, hey, we had practice. Maybe they'll ask me about Alex. Maybe they'll ask me about Terry. Maybe they'll ask me about Antonio Gibson. No, they're going to ask you about Dwayne again. But this will be the last time. And he can make that abundantly clear. Hey, after this, no more Dwayne questions. He's no longer on this team. We wish him the best. We're moving on. We got Philadelphia for a playoff spot on Saturday or Sunday. That's what we're going to be focused on. And I'm pretty sure you're going to get that from Ron at some point. But the mess that was left here by Dwayne Haskins, we'll see if the players can clean it up or not. We'll see if the coaching staff can clean it up or not. I blame last week's loss solely on him in terms of the week leading up to the game. During the game, I blame head coach Ron Rivera and Scott Turner, as well as Dwayne. And I made that abundantly clear. And I want to explain myself right now. I see I got a super chat, so I'll take that here in a second. As a matter of fact, let's take it now. I don't want to have that go away. We get enough comments, that thing might actually go away. So got a super chat from my man, Mark McKnight. Thank you for the super chat, Mark McKnight. Greatly appreciate you. My man, Mark writes, hey, Louie, happy holidays. Same to you, Mark. How would you feel about Washington trading for Derek Carr? We can give the Raiders a first and a third round pick. I like Derek Carr. I don't love Derek Carr. I don't love him enough to veer away from drafting a young quarterback if we're in a position to do that. I wouldn't want to do that. I tell you what, I'd be much more interested in trading for Marcus Mariota and not giving up my first round pick, but rather trading away a 4th round pick for Marcus Mariota instead. I'd be more interested in doing that. Not to say that Mariota is a savior or he's even a franchise quarterback at this point. I don't know if he has that ability or not. But what I do know is Derek Carr has a ceiling. You know, there's only so far you can go with Derek Carr. And I like Derek Carr a lot. Again, Derek Carr is very talented. And he does some really good things. But he also does some things that I'm not too fond of. And so I think Derek Carr is fine right where he is. And I don't really think Las Vegas is really interested in trading him, to be honest with you. I think he's cemented himself as their quarterback this year. He's been outstanding. Derek Carr is not the problem with that Vegas football team. It's the defense. So how I would feel is I'd be skeptical about that. You know, there are other guys that I think may be better than Derek Carr, might be more of a needle mover than Derek Carr. But again, I'm not really interested in giving away any draft capital. If you really want me to be brutally honest, I know it's going to take a first round pick if you want Stafford, you know, and probably more so. Just like you said, a first and a third. It'll probably take a first and a third, you know, and a 5th next year or something like that to get Stafford, you know, and you'll have to eat that cap. You know, it'll take something like that to get a Matt Ryan if he's available, one of those types of guys. I'm aware of that situation, but at the same time, I don't know if I'm willing to give that up. Like, we're a young team. We're looking to build. I think it is vital that we hold on to our early round draft picks. And unlike what we just did with Dwayne, you know, what lessens that blow is that we got Montez Sweat in that same first round. and he's going to be quite all right. Okay, we didn't miss on that one. So, which is, if we're being honest, that's who the staff wanted to take. You know, that's who the scouting department pegged as the guy at 15. And Dan came in, overruled them, and said, no, we're taking the quarterback. That's why Dan, gave the green light to come back into the first round to get the guy that they wanted to draft all along at 15. So, it was almost like, hey, here's an olive branch. I'm sorry that all the work that you guys have done for the last year, I pretty much pissed it away in the first round. Sorry about that, but this is the guy that I want. And I run the team, so I can do whatever the hell I want to do. So what I'll do is, to smooth things over, I'll allow you to come back into the first round. Go ahead and do that. I'm giving you the green light to do that. And so they came back and got Montez Sweat. Anyway, at least we didn't fail totally in the first round in 2019. We did get Montez Sweat. So there is a silver lining in this. However, it's another failed early round draft pick. And we know the struggles of this team in the second round. Well, now we failed in the first round. Again, we failed in the first round with Josh Doxson. We failed again here. And if we don't re-sign Brandon Sheriff, we failed again in the first round. Okay? So at some point, you have to stop this cycle. And I feel like it needs to stop with Brandon Sheriff. He's the longest tenured first round pick that we have on this team. He needs to remain in Washington. Somewhere, you've got to stop this cycle. So we'll see what happens there. But I wouldn't want to trade for Derek Carr. I wouldn't be pissed off if they did it, but I wouldn't be elated either. Thank you for the super chat. Let's see. Got another super chat here from Harvey Mills. Thank you for the super chat, Harvey. Greatly appreciate you. Harvey writes, what's good, Lou? Smells like they knew Haskins' fate before the end of the game. Yeah, you're damn right they did. They knew what time it was. They knew they were done. Who didn't, and I said this last night, and a lot of you said the same exact thing. Who didn't say that was his last play in Washington? Who didn't say that? When he got benched, who didn't think this shit is over? There's no coming back from this performance. After the week you just had and what you put this team through in the most important game of the season, for you to come out and do that? Who didn't think it was over? I damn sure did. Never thought he was going to be able to recover from that. No rebounding from that one. You can't come back after that. That was the equivalent of your best friend coming over to your house and smacking the shit out of your mama at your crib. Out of nowhere. Mom didn't do anything, didn't say anything, and he just hauls off and smacks the shit out of you. There's no coming back from that. We're not friends anymore. I'm about to beat your ass. There's no coming back from that. That was a slap in the face to all of us, to the coaching staff, to every single player in that locker room. For you to come out and play like that after what you just did, you just smacked all of us in the face. 5 fingers. Print. Face. Left. Mark. Ain't no coming back from that. So they knew what they were going to do. It was just how we going to go about it. And I think, I can't confirm nor deny this. I think they reached out. The trade deadline is over. But I think they picked up the phone. They called a few teams. Hey, would you be interested in the offseason in trading for Dwayne? Because if you don't, we're going to release him, and then you're going to have to compete with everybody else. And we got 3 other teams that are willing to give us something. They might have picked up the phone just to make sure. And if somebody like Pittsburgh would have said, hey, we'll give you a 7th, Washington would have said, okay, you know what? We'll hold on to him. You got our word. We'll trade him to you once this season's done. That could be a possibility, but maybe they called a bunch of teams and they said, we're not interested. You're going to release him. We'll wait till then. So, I don't know. Again, I can't confirm nor deny that. The bottom line is, the minute he went out and played the way that he did, they washed their hands clean that moment, as did most of us. Not everybody. There were still a few Dwayne stragglers out there holding on for dear life. But even the most staunch supporter at that point, even if they still said, well, they didn't have Terry, and they tried to make excuses for him, even they said, That was bad. That was really, really bad. That was terrible. And I'll take it a step further. In that game, you could see Dwayne was pressing, and he did the opposite of what he needed to do. We weren't looking for Dwayne the savior last night. We were looking for Dwayne the game manager. Just go out here, hand the football off, hit the guy that's open. Did you see the final play? I went back and watched that play because it was so egregious. 4th and 2. Hit 2 open receivers standing 5 yards in front of him. He turns both of them down, runs and gets sacked. It's the perfect way to end his Washington career because the man never saw the field here. Never saw the field correctly. Cam Sims, he literally said, I'm going to work the right side. I'm going to work the front side of this play. Okay, Cam Sims is on the back side. He's wide open, though. You got Steven Sims, I believe it was Steven Sims, sitting right in front of him. Wide ass open on the right side of the field, the side that he's working. If he's not open or whatever you're looking at is not open, then you need to come off of that read. And he would have easily saw Cam Sims and he would have had a first down. Even as he starts to run to his left, which is all he knows how to do is run to his damn left, Cam Sims is right in front of his face, open. He could have underhanded it to him. It would have been a first down. He takes a sack. He just never got it here. Never. And that play is a microcosm of what we've sat through with Dwayne for the last 2 years, essentially. It's a shame. But you know what? Perfect, most fitting ending to his career here. And they knew it. We knew it. Everybody knew it. He was done. He was done here. Got another super chat. This one is from, let's see. Got another super chat. This one is from Just Andre. Thank you for the super chat, Just Andre. Greatly appreciate you. Just Andre writes, do you want Samuel now after the game yesterday? No, I don't. He was great, though. He tore us up, and that may make them feel even more confident to go after him in the offseason. I'm good. He's not a true wide receiver is what I'm trying to explain to you guys. He did a lot of good things yesterday. He had a tremendous run. He had a great catch over the top. There was a 3rd down conversion he had. He almost dropped that. He's not a natural wide receiver. He's one of those guys that when you recruit him and you put athlete next to his name because he doesn't have a true position. The Panthers use him beautifully because they're going to use him like you would in college football. We're not going to do that, I don't think. We get him. Are we going to use him in the backfield? Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. I don't know. But in order to really take full advantage of a guy like Curtis Samuel, you got to use him in the backfield. You got to use him on jet sweeps, wide receiver screens. You got to use him underneath. You got to use him deep. Maybe we would take advantage of him. But he's always hurt. He's always dealing. Guys like him are constantly dealing with soft tissue injuries. They're always missing some time. And I just want a true number 2. I'm looking for a real wide receiver. I don't want a gadget guy. I don't want a guy that's doing multiple things. We got Antonio Gibson and we got J.D. McKissick and all those different guys that can fill that kind of role. You know, the more you can do, the better. That's great. But for me, I just want a traditional wide receiver. You know, if you want one of those guys, Steven Sims could be Curtis Samuel. Seriously, I know a lot of you are not big fans of his right now. Before this season, last year, what were we doing with Steven Sims? All the shit that Carolina's doing with Curtis Samuel. We were doing the jet sweeps. We were tossing it to him out of the backfield. You know, only thing we didn't do was stretch the football field vertically with him, which I still don't understand why we don't do. There are times where he's open over the middle of the field running seam routes, and we just don't get it to him for whatever reason. But he can do everything that he's doing. He's just a poor man's version of Curtis Samuel. The only difference is I trust Steven Sims on anything but punts, and I don't trust Curtis Samuel because he's got 2 first names. Barrett Downing, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My man BD writes, we just don't seem to mature a young QB. Our future quarterback is already in the league. Where? Who knows? Respect. I Look, on one hand, you're spot on. You know, Robert Griffin III, and now Dwayne Haskins. In between that, it was Kirk Cousins, but Kirk was already mature. So we didn't have to groom him or teach him how to be mature. The problem is we get these young guys that aren't ready for this type of situation. And, you know, the biggest thing is you got all these yes men around you, all these people that are blowing your head up, you know, really building you up, telling you how great you are. And you don't have somebody telling you that it's not always going to be this way and that you got to be able to handle adversity. And Dwayne and Robert, they weren't able to handle adversity. And I always remember Mike Shanahan telling the story about Robert and sitting down in his living room for the first time with him and his dad and talking about some of the games that they struggled in at Baylor and how they were quick to point the finger at Art Briles. Oh, that was the coaching staff. It was a bad game plan. Never wanted to accept blame when they didn't do well, you know. And Dwayne is another one of those guys that just doesn't get it. You know, he just doesn't understand. No, that's not good enough, Dwayne. You have to work harder than that. You've done enough to get a C in the class. And if you're okay with the C, that's fine. But at this level, for what you're being asked to do, for what you're being paid, and what your position calls for, C work isn't good enough. You can't just be an average student. You got to look to be an A honor student. And he just wasn't willing to do that. He thought he had all the answers. He thought he figured it out. So maybe our quarterback is already in the league, you know. But I'm going to give, because again, it's hard to make the kind of meal that you want to make with somebody else's groceries. It's hard. You know exactly what you want, how you want it, and it's hard when somebody says, hey, I went to the store already, here you go. Well, that's not the kind of, fine, I'll just use it, you bought it, whatever. It's not the same one, though. It's not going to have the same taste. You know? I want to give this operation, and I think Ron's going to do something foolish in the offseason. Hire a GM outside of the building, not promote the GM title and hand that over to Kyle Smith. I think he's going to make a mistake. That'll be his first big mistake to me, organizational wise, since he got here. And we'll see what he decides to do, but that's what he's leaning towards. That's what the reports are. That would be really disappointing. But we'll see what that group does. Whatever he decides to do. I'm not going to be in favor of it, but what are you going to do? All I can do is support his decision. And if they bring somebody else in here, Marty Herney, Rick Smith, whomever, let's see what they decide to do. Right? Let's see what they decide to do. Rick Smith was responsible. He had the foresight to trade up to number 10 and draft Deshaun Watson. He had the foresight to do that. So he knew something. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But maybe the quarterback of the future isn't in college. Maybe he's already in the NFL, as you said. I hope you're wrong, but we'll see. Gearcell, thank you for the super chat. Gearcell1, greatly appreciate you. Gearcell1 writes, glad Haskins is gone. I second that. Late Christmas gift. Indeed, I hated that it had to end this way. Because I wanted a draft pick for him. NBC showed Dwayne leaving cheeks and wings, wearing suede yoga pants with glitter Crocs. Washington football team needs to handle business Sunday. Couldn't have said it better myself. And we're going to get into that when we take a look at what Ron had to say, because I thought this was Ron's most profound and impactful presser. He had his shit together today. He knew what he was going to do. Thank you for that super chat. Suede yoga pants and glitter Crocs. Tragic, as you would normally say. Jay Hunter Lee, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jay Hunter Lee writes, I told you the man needed pop-up pictures in his playbook. He has a learning disorder. Pray for him and wish him well. I don't know if that is true. I just know that I am wishing him well. in all of his future endeavors. Even if he gets another chance in this league and it works out for him, great. I know some of you don't want to see that happen. I'm not rooting against him. I hope he goes somewhere and prospers. Unlike Robert, who I knew, it doesn't matter where he goes, he can't do it. Dwayne may be able to do it somewhere else. Dwayne, my man Derek B told me this last year when we drafted Dwayne. He said this, and I kind of, dismissed him like, hey, we'll see about that. My man Derek B said, Louie, I'm telling you right now, Dwayne should have been in college still. He should still be playing at Ohio State. He's not ready to play in the NFL. And his dad did him a disservice by allowing him to come out. And I said, well, we'll see about that. Guy threw for 50 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions. He probably thought, I'm never going to be this good again. My stock is never going to be as high as it is right now. I'm going to go and take advantage of it while I can. And his dad was probably thinking the same thing and seeing dollar signs and, all of that good stuff. And my man Derek B was adamant then, and he was just as adamant now. Dwayne should still be in college. He should have taken the Joe Burrow route. Stayed an extra year. That extra year did wonders for Joe Burrow. Now, Burrow didn't have the same 2018 that Dwayne had. So I don't think he could have come out. He would have been a 3rd round pick, not the number 1 overall pick. But he stayed an extra year, got that seasoning and the experience, and look what it did for Joe Burrow. And he could have did the same thing for Dwayne. He wasn't ready. And maybe another year wouldn't have seasoned him. Maybe another year wouldn't have made a difference. He was going to be this guy regardless. Maybe that's true. But maybe 3 more years and this experience and how bad things have gone and how everyone has turned on him so quickly, he realizes, because he's probably got some fake friends in his life. Maybe he realizes, I got to be better. And it's all about what I do. And I got to be willing to learn from my past mistakes. And maybe he goes somewhere and he sits for 2 years and he gets an opportunity and he takes advantage of it. I hope that's the case. Unlike Robert, he can actually play. Robert was absolutely trash. And so I knew it didn't matter where he went, he wasn't going to be any good. He's fragile. He was inconsistent. He can't read NFL defenses fast enough. He doesn't process information fast enough. He didn't want to play the style of football that got him a 10-6 record and all the fame and all the endorsements and all the success. He didn't want to run that offense. Okay, well then fine. Go be the drop back quarterback you and your dad think you're supposed to be. Good luck with that, because you can't do it. Dwayne might be able to do it. It's not a definitive nope, he can't do it. I just know he can't do it here. Got another super chat. This one is from CJ Shoots Photo. Thank you for the super chat, CJ Shoots Photo. He writes, Terry McLaurin with high ankle sprain equals season over. Not necessarily. Long shot that he plays on Sunday. That's what that says to me. I think he'd be ready to go if we made it to the postseason. But if I'm being brutally honest with you, they're going to do everything in their power to try to get him ready. But I just don't see him being able to help us on Sunday. And we're going to have to figure it out without Terry again. And I think we can do it, man. I really do. But that's another conversation for another day. I just know that Terry has a high ankle sprain. And he's in a walking boot right now. And I don't like his chances of playing on Sunday. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Metaphor, greatly appreciate you. Metaphor writes, said he's getting his walking papers in the locker room in the MOBB. Any concern that this affects Chase's play? He's his buddy. Not a single doubt in my mind that Chase is going to be affected by this. Chase is going to be just fine. Chase is he's an adult. Unlike Dwayne, he's a full-blown adult. He understands that this is a business. That's his homeboy. And just think about it from this perspective. Think about your best friend. And think about if you were on a team with your best friend and your best friend was struggling and he gets benched. Right? And, you show him support, but he goes out and he does something stupid. You're still going to support that guy. He's still your best friend. And I'm not saying that Dwayne is his best friend, but they're friends. You're still going to support your boy, right? Like, you're not going to turn your back on him, but you're going to tell him, I know the relationship I have with my best friends is when they effing up, I tell them, you effing up. And I'd like the same respect from you that if I'm effing up, I need you to be it, because what are we friends for if I can't tell you when you effing up? Even though you don't want to hear it, I got to be the one to tell you. If I can't tell you that, we don't need to be friends. Because I'm not going to be complicit in your tomfoolery. So if I see you participating in some chicanery, I'm stepping in and I'm going to tell you, this is some bullshit you are participating in. I just want you to know that. You're better than that. And I'm pretty sure Chase told him in so many words, hey, don't worry about it. Keep your head up. We all make mistakes. We're not perfect, which is what he said to the media yesterday after the game, which is what he said to Dwayne. And he's supporting him. And I would too. That's my friend. I would do the same thing. But at the same time, it's a business. In this league, friends get traded. Friends get cut. It happens all the time. You got to move on. And I'm pretty sure Chase is going to move on. He's got other friends on the team that were his friends before Washington, like Terry. And he's got friends that he's now made that are on the team, like Montez and all those guys on the defensive line and all the other players on the team. Chase is an extrovert. So this isn't going to be a problem. If you're introverted and you don't have many friends and the one guy that you were really connected to is gone, yeah, that's going to affect you. Chase is an extrovert. He's friends with everybody. He talked about yesterday after the game going up to Taylor Heinicke and saying, hey, man, he said, I don't even remember what I said. I just gave him some words of encouragement. And he said, Taylor looked at him and said, hey, it's all good, bro. This is what I do. He said, oh, shit, well, this dude got some swag. Okay. And he went out and balled. So, like Chase, it doesn't matter. Chase is good. He'll be fine. But you were right. He was getting his walking papers. I didn't think he was. He got the pink slip today. See, got another super chat. This one is from Brandon McCloskey. Thank you for the super chat, Brandon McCloskey. Greatly appreciate you. My man Brendan writes, hopefully this will teach Dan to stay out of football matters. I told you, Dan will never accept responsibility for his own actions. That's why Robert Griffin and him were so much friends. They were such good buddies because they saw the world in the same light. That our doo-doo doesn't stink and everything that we do is going to work because we're great. And if it goes wrong, it wasn't my fault. Or as a wise man once told me, oh, it ain't my fault. Did I do that? It ain't my fault. Yeah, you're damn right you did that, Dan. Dan's like, no, I didn't. And so I don't think this is going to teach Dan anything. Hopefully, Dan is so preoccupied with all these damn lawsuits and all this litigation that he doesn't have time to be in football matters. And he'll allow the football people to do what he hired them to do. That's the hope right now. And that shit will go so well that they'll say, hey, Dan, we got it. You see how well things are going? We don't need your help. We got it, Mr. Snyder. Thank you for that super chat. AK850. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. AK850 writes, I'm a very forgiving person, but if I was a Washington fan, what that kid did over this past week, that's where I draw the line. That's essentially where I was. I'm a forgiving person too. I told you I'm the constant optimist. And anybody in the MOBB will tell you, they're steady telling me the game's over. And I'm like, this game is not over. We're still in this thing. Even when Taylor Heinicke came in, I was like, hey, we can still do this. You know, if they don't call back, and Ron said this, and we'll talk about it a little bit later on, but if they don't call back the first touchdown, I'm thinking in my head, we're coming back in time this game. The Panthers are done scoring for the day. They've scored all the points they're going to score this afternoon. So if we can find a way to tie this game up, we're going to beat these clowns. And the officials, they didn't do us any favors yesterday. We didn't do ourselves any favor. How about Cam Sims catch the damn football down to the 2-yard line so we can score that first touchdown with 5 minutes left and all 3 timeouts? Let's give us a chance to win the damn game. They didn't. They didn't give us a chance. We didn't give ourselves a chance. But, you know, where I had to draw the line was all of the shit that we've dealt with Dwayne, starting last year when he wasn't prepared and there were rumors of him not being prepared. But you know what we did? We gave him a mea culpa. We said, we're going to chop all of that stuff up. We're going to chalk it up to the last regime. They were just incompetent as incompetent can be. So we're not going to put this on you. We're going to put that on Jay, and we're going to put that on Bruce, and we're going to put that on all those guys. You know, and Bill Callahan and all of them. We're going to put that on those guys. This new regime's going to come in. It's a brand new day, breath of fresh air, and he's going to get it now. Had last year, he penned that letter to Washington fans, and we were like, man, Dwayne might get it. How about this, you know, this ability to be introspective? How about him being self-reflective and being able to admit that he was at fault for some of the struggles last year? How about that? This kid is starting to get it. The light's coming on for him. And then we see some of the same behaviors this year. Maybe he doesn't get it. No, last week was an exclamation point that no, he doesn't get it. He absolutely doesn't get it. And you know what? That's fine. You can figure it out somewhere else. I don't have the time nor the patience anymore to deal with this. I just don't. And so my last straw was the game. Because as Logan Thomas said, if he comes out, does his job, and does it well, and we win, all will be forgiven. Well, he didn't do that. Dwayne pressed. You know, and I started to say this, and I stopped. I'm going to finish this statement now. Yesterday, I could tell you what Dwayne thought in his head. Dwayne thought, I need to prove to everybody that this week didn't break me. I need to prove to everyone that I can do this. That I'm worth. That I am absolutely worth a second chance. A third chance. Another chance. And so he wanted to go out and be the reason we won the game. We didn't need him to do that. We just needed him to be a part of the reason, not the sole reason. He wanted to go out, stroke it for 330, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions in a 28-6 route. He wanted to do that. He wanted to be responsible for that. We didn't need him to do that. I would have been perfectly fine with a 19 of 27 for 187, 1 touchdown, no interception game. I would have been perfectly, because we would have won that game yesterday. Perfectly fine with that. He wasn't perfectly fine with that, though. How many times did he throw it down the field into double and triple coverage? That's nothing but a guy predetermining that I'm going to make a play. I'm going to make a play for this team. No matter what the coverage dictates or say I should or shouldn't do, I'm going to force it down the field. Why? Because I'm going to make some big plays. That's selfish. He hurt this team yesterday. He didn't help us. You hurt this team during the course of the week. You didn't help us. And you compounded that by playing arguably your worst game of your career. Get the hell out of here. Get your shit and go. Pack your damn locker up right now and go. Much faster than slow. Just Andre, double up, thank you for doubling up. Just Andre, greatly appreciate you. Who writes, what receiver would you want in free agency? We've done this like 87 times. It's hard to really say. It's going to be a bunch of guys. I don't have a huge preference. You know, I know what I don't want. But there are so many guys that will be available that I wouldn't mind having. Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, Juju Smith-Schuster, Kenny Golladay. All right, the list goes on and on and on. All right, Corey Davis. There are going to be so many free agent wide receivers that you cannot come out of this group without something. And it may be Curtis Samuel. I won't be happy, but I'll have to deal with it. But they're going to come away with a free agent. And I'm going to talk about what Ron said. I told you Ron was on his shit today at his presser, so we're going to talk about what Ron had to say a little bit later on. Anyway, I don't really have a big preference. I just want a difference-making number 2, a guy that we can rely on. We don't have that right now. We got a bunch of 3s and 4s. And you need those too. You need those too. I don't know what Kelvin Harmon is. I don't know what AGG is right now. You know, any one of those guys could ultimately morph into a number 2. But you know what? I'd like to find that out as they're a number 3 or 4 option. Damn, he might be a lot better than we thought. You know, when the Falcons drafted Calvin Ridley, they drafted him to be a number 2. What they found out over this 3-year stretch is that, hey, this guy's actually a number 1 wide receiver. That's what I want to find out with one of these guys. Drafted you to be a 3 or 4 option? Shit, he might actually be a number 2. we might have found something. That's the kind of thing you want to stumble upon. You know, you don't draft a guy in the 5th round or the 4th round and expect him to be a number 2 wide receiver. That's not generally the thought process. You're like, hey, we think this guy can help us. This is some really good value here in the 5th round, 6th round. Let's take him and see what he turns into. But I don't have a preference. I know what I don't want. What I don't want is Curtis Samuel or anybody like him. I want an actual wide receiver. That's what I want. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. JP, greatly appreciate you, who writes, had hope for Haskins, but he's a massive man-child. Yeah, I mean, I think we all had hope, especially, but I mean, if we go back to the videos that were done before the season started, you had people talking about Haskins. I remember I had one Washington fan, and I won't name names, but I remember this very vividly because I'm like, yeah, you tripping. He's like, hey, Haskins might win the MVP this year. And we had all these crazy numbers being thrown out. Haskins, 3,200 yards passing, 27 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. I'm like, whoa. These are some really gaudy numbers y'all throwing out here. Like, I'm a lot lower than you are, but I think he can have a really quality season that solidifies him as our starter. We were so wrong about him. We really were. And we ignored, a wise man once told me, don't ignore the stop signs and the red lights. Don't run through those. There were a lot of stop signs that we just decided to just roll on through. They call it a rolling stop. When you don't actually stop, when that police officer pulls you over, he said, hey, you know what you did? Know why I pulled you over? That was a rolling stop. You didn't actually come to a complete stop. You rolled through that stop sign like a receiver on an out route. When he just rolls into that out, doesn't actually break down and make a sharp cut. He rolls it. They call it rolling into a route. You rolled through that stop sign. We rolled through a couple of red lights and stop signs. There were signs there. We just chose to ignore them because we wanted him to be successful. Low key, not Loki. Thank you for the super chat. Low key, not Loki, who writes, hey, Lou, just wanted to know what was going on through your mind when Haskins ran out on the field during the timeout taken on Heinicke's first drive. I told you guys yesterday what I thought, and somebody time-stamped it on the video. And I actually went back in the comment because I told you I read all your comments. And I went back and I hit that because I didn't know what he was referring to. So I hit the timestamp and it took me right to that point in the video where I was talking about, Dwayne coming out on the field. And I explained it then. So if you want to know exactly how I feel, you can go back to that video, go into the comment section, and there's a timestamp there, and you can click on that. I can give you a brief synopsis, though. I wanted to know, what the hell was he doing on the field? Is Ron losing his damn mind? Why is he putting Dwayne back in the game? Is this some type of trick play? Because Heinicke was still on the field. Like, what are we doing right now? And then I explained my emotions when he started to turn back around and jog off the field, and I said, how phony was that? That was some Robert Griffin III shit. And I pretty much explained that yesterday. That felt real Robert Griffin III-esque to me. Like, I'm trying to put up this facade in this front to tell you guys, I'm a good guy. I'm a team-first guy. This is still my team. Like, that's the kind of shit Robert Griffin III would do, to try to save face in the media. How good of a guy he is. I was on Twitter, and in the comment section of somebody that brought that up, and there were still dummies in the comment section. Well, I'm not going to kill him for being a good teammate. That's why he did it. He wanted to keep people like you on his side. Get the hell out of my face with that bullshit. That's exactly what it was. Straight BS. I can smell it, and it stinks. Alec Meehan, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Alec Meehan, who writes, just saw the only QB we have drafted has a winning record, and it was Sammy Ball. Good Lord. Look, man, I don't know what else to tell you. Okay? This is all you need to know about our history with quarterbacks. Joe Gibbs is the only NFL head coach in history to have won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks. If that doesn't tell you all you need to know, then I don't know what else will. Because every other Hall of Fame quarterback or head coach usually has a quarterback that's either in the Hall of Fame or a guy that was there for the majority of his duration as head coach that won him some critical games. A guy that he could look to and say, I know I can count on him. Like Brady and Belichick, like Bill Walsh and Joe Montana, the list goes on and on. Jimmy Johnson and Troy Aikman. You usually got the guy that you can rely on. This was the guy that I rode to a bunch of victories. Don Shula was in there, and he was the coach of the Dolphins for a very long time, so he went through a slew of quarterbacks. But when he started to do his most damage, and not from a Super Bowl standpoint, because he never won a Super Bowl with Dan Marino, but I'm just talking about wins, piling up a bunch of wins. It's with Dan Marino. Joe Gibbs doesn't have that. He won 3 different Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks. Joe Theismann, Doug Williams, and Mark Rippon. Okay? Nobody else can lay claim to that in the Hall of Fame. So that just tells you we've never, even with our best coach in franchise history, we've never had a guy. Even when you go back to when George Allen was here, it was Sonny and it was Billy Kilmer. And there was a debate. Like, we never have drafted quarterbacks and had a guy just be the guy. Even Joe Theismann wasn't drafted here. He was drafted in Miami. So we've never been able to draft anybody and get them to play ball here. That's why I don't want to trade for a veteran. I'd like to find a way to find that guy that we can call our own. Aren't you tired of getting somebody else's leftover scraps? And then when that guy goes in the Hall of Fame saying, I hope he goes in as a Washington football team member. No, he's not going in. You go get Stafford, he's going into the Hall of Fame as a Detroit Lion. Don't you want a guy that you say, if he goes into the Hall, he's going in as one of us? Like even Trent Williams, with the way shit ended here, he still may not go in if he goes in as a Washington football team member. And I'm okay with that at this point. I'm okay with that. But at the quarterback position, that's why I didn't want to trade Kirk. Because he was getting better. And I know you don't want to hear that. And every time I bring his name up, people come after me in the comment section. I'm not going to stop bringing him up. So you can keep coming after me. Because I feel the way that I feel, and you're not going to change my mind. We got a chance to do that again this year. Whether we make the playoffs and have the 19th or 21st or 22nd pick, or we miss the postseason and we have the 11th pick. We got a chance to do that. Let's see what we do. Let's see. Got another super chat. This one is from Brendan McCloskey. Greatly appreciate you, Brendan McCloskey. Thank you for doubling up. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Brendan McCloskey, who writes, are you going to even bother looking at the offensive film this week? LOL. Yeah, I'm going to look at it. I'm going to break it down still. Absolutely. There won't be much to break down. Carolina killed us time of possession. I remember one of my keys to the game, and I won't actually get to that today, but I'll at some point this week during Washington Football Nightly, I'll get to that, my keys to the game and how those things went. But one of the keys was for us to shorten the game. Carolina used our own key to the game against us. They got the lead, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to jump out to the 20-0 lead. I wanted to jump out on top and shorten the game. They gave us a dose of our own medicine. That was frustrating. JDSG, thank you for the super chat, JDSG, who writes, does Kyle leave if a new GM comes in? Draft was money. That's a $1 million question I don't have the answer to. Because if Kyle's ego is hurt, and if I were him, my ego would be crushed. Essentially, you going out and hiring a GM means you don't think I'm capable of doing the job that I essentially did for you last year and really have been doing for the longest, but just not getting the autonomy come draft day to pull the trigger for the last 3-4 years here in Washington, because Bruce would override me. But I can do this. I was made to do this. My dad did this. I watched my dad do this. I'm ready to do this. And if you don't think I can do this, well, then I need to go somewhere where my talents are respected and I'll have a chance to do this. So I think if a new GM comes in, and you got to remember, that new GM, he doesn't want any static. He wants a clean slate. He wants his guys in here. And Kyle Smith wouldn't be one of his guys. The only way that new GM comes in and doesn't get rid of Kyle or doesn't want Kyle out is if Ron says, hey, here's one of the stipulations. If you take this job, you got to keep Kyle Smith as your right-hand man because I really like this kid. Think he's got something. Maybe that happens. But if I'm Kyle Smith, I want out. That's a slap in the face, a sign of disrespect that you don't think I'm capable of doing the job, so you're going to hire somebody else to do the job. Now my voice won't be heard. I think he's gone, personally. You don't promote him to GM and you bring somebody else from the outside in. It tells me that you don't trust me and that you'll never trust me and I need to find work elsewhere. It's not as easy as you think to find jobs in this league doing what he's doing, having the title that he has. But if he knows people, if he's got connections, I know his dad has connections in this league. If he knows enough people, he'll find work somewhere. Even if it's at a lower titled position, he'll work his way up. He's a smart guy. I love Kyle Smith. I told you guys that last draft season when we really got to know Kyle. He was the one at the front of the draft content last year when they would have interviews about what picks were made and what the thought process was. It was Kyle Smith that was doing a lot of the talking, not Ron Rivera. And I said, man, this guy's sharp. This guy gets it. And he's young. That's the thing I love. He's not some old 65-year-old curmudgeon that's hanging on. He's not 55. Like if you hired Marty Herney, you'd be bringing in this old, stuck in his ways curmudgeon. This guy is young and he's sharp and he gets it. You're talking about a guy in his 30s. He gets it. And he could be your GM for the next 25, 30 years. And you're going to throw that away because you want to bring in Marty Herney? It's garbage. I hope he doesn't do it, but I think he's going to do it. I'm going to tell you this. I don't know if you guys caught this, but Ron, like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I was listening to Ron and I told you this. I think I kind of glossed over it. I don't think I really gave it its just due. But he was asked about his relationship with Kyle Smith. And it was the most lukewarm response I'd heard Ron. Ron has done a phenomenal job of building guys up here. Even if he doesn't love them. Talking them up really nicely. He did it with Dwayne. He's done it with several other players. He's done a really good job of talking up coaches and guys on the staff. And then he's asked about Kyle Smith, and he's like, all right. Yeah, he's all right. Like, that's it? That's all I get? Yeah, he's all right. Okay. So that didn't make me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Like, there's some type of disconnect there. And, I was listening to the Kevin Sheehan Show podcast, and Chris Cooley was up there. And, I thought Cooley made up a great point. He said that it felt like that in that response, that because the reason they brought it up is because they were asking questions about the success of all these short-term veterans that were signed. The Ronald Darby's, the J.D. McKissicks, the Logan Thomases of the world, the Kevin Pierre-Lewis's, and all these guys that have come in and played really well for this football team. All these gems that we seem to have unearthed. And they were given a lot of the credit, which I think that's where it belongs. They were given a lot of the credit to Kyle Smith. He was the guy that found these players. Peyton Barber, that's all Ron Rivera. But all those other guys, J.D. McKissick, Logan Thomas, Ronald Darby, all these guys those are Kyle Smith finds. And the media kept talking and praising and lauding and giving all the credit to Kyle Smith. And Ron seemed annoyed by that. Like, no. I need some of that credit. I helped find some of I found Peyton Barber. God damn it. Well, good. Good for you. We like Peyton Barber. We know what to expect from him. But he's not J.D. McKissick. He's not Logan Thomas. He's not, Ronald Darby. He's not Kevin Pierre-Lewis. He's not Cornelius Lucas. So, anyway, there was it was a little bit of that kind of vibe and feel. But we'll see. I think there may be a little bit of that there, which is unfortunate if it is. I can't confirm nor deny that. Clumsy Jedi 26, thank you for the super chat. who writes, I was done with Dwayne since week 2, Jamarcus 2.0. I got nothing for you. I mean, I wasn't going to give up on him after week 2 against Arizona, but especially not after the first half or the third quarter he had against the Browns. You know, after that fourth quarter against the Browns, though, I was like, this dude, Dwayne, man, he ain't shit. But I wasn't ready to give up yet. I really wasn't. But you can see it. Like, he just doesn't get it. JH from Greensboro, North Carolina. Thank you for the super chat. JH from Greensboro, North Carolina, who writes, Lou, bro, you need to get off that Steve Sims Jr. tip, bro. I mean, for real, besides Haskins, he's messed up the game too. I just don't see what you see in Steven Sims. I see talent. The reason Dwayne was here, why? Even though he had effed up so many times, talent. The reason Steven Sims is on this team is because he's talented. If they, I don't know how many times I got to explain this to you guys. A lot of you want to bail on players after. See, a lot of that so I can't say if you did or didn't play sports. If you're a star, you don't worry about mistakes. You don't worry about mistakes. You get to make them. They're going to live with them because you're talented enough to get away with mistakes. But when you're not, and I wasn't a star. When I played basketball, I was a role player. I was a 3-and-D guy. So I know what it feels like to make a mistake and feel like, oh shit, coach is going to come for me. I'm going to look over at the scores table. Here comes the quick hook. I made an errant pass and went out of bounds. I took an ill-advised shot that I thought I could make. Here comes the hook. I'm going to look over at the scores table and my replacement is going to be taking a knee, waiting to come in at the next dead ball. That shit's unnerving. It's not comfortable. Every time you make a mistake, you think that's it for me. You got talent, but you don't get a chance to show it because you made a mistake. Mistakes happen, guys. Mistakes happen. The thing is, you get more opportunities if you're talented. I'm not going to allow a guy that is a marginal talent to continue to make mistakes that get me beat. But when you have talent, I'm not going to quit on you because I know what you're capable of. Steven Sims has talent. He has underachieved this year. That's an understatement for what we were expecting and what we've gotten to this point. A massive underachievement this year. Doesn't take away from the fact that this dude is talented, though. I know what he's capable of. And if given opportunities, more opportunities, I don't think he gets enough opportunities. Yeah, there have been some drops and to get him off of punts. I don't think he's comfortable back there. Take him off of punts. I've already said that. Last year, I was beating the table. Why aren't we getting Steven Sims on punts? The more he touches the ball, the better. This year, I'm like, why are we having Steven Sims on punts? Get his ass from back there. He's not confident. Get him out of there. Get somebody back there that'll catch the football. He let the ball hit the ground twice, and we ended up starting inside our own damn 5-yard line. He did that yesterday. He was scared. And he had every right to be because he doesn't make good decisions back there. Get him from back there. He's already fumbled twice on punts this year. Get him out. Get him off of punts. But he's still a damn good wide receiver. And I won't allow you guys to tell me otherwise because I know what I know and I know what I see. And what I see is a guy that can help. He's a true slot receiver in this league. A guy that can win. And honestly speaking, I don't think we use him enough. I don't think he gets the football enough. I don't think he's being utilized in the proper manner. And I think this guy, all he needs is confidence. And I know you get tired of me talking about confidence. Well, you didn't play sports if you don't know about confidence. Because confidence is key. It really is. It really is. When you know you can do something, there isn't anyone that can stop you in your mind. When you're not sure, you're skittish as hell. You're unsure. Should I do this? Shouldn't I do that? You're thinking a lot. That's when mistakes happen. Steven Sims, I'm not going to stop on Steven Sims because I see talent. And it is what it is. You don't have to agree, but I know talent when I see talent. He's got talent. He can help this team. Thank you for the super chat. JH from Greensboro, North Carolina. Sonny Rawson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My man Sonny writes, when Dwayne is not the narrative of what's happening When is it just football, no distractions? I'm excited to have that again. Team responds to Alex. That's why they released him. That is why they could have held on to Dwayne. There is no bonus. You're not recouping any money. There isn't any cap savings. Like, there is no other benefit to releasing Dwayne other than let's rid ourselves of this distraction and this negative energy. He's a sieve right now. He is literally sucking the life out of this team right now. The questions that other players have to answer, the questions that I have to answer, the questions that Scott Turner has to answer. Hell, Jack Del Rio coaches the other side of football, and he's got to answer Dwayne questions. Let's just end all of that. Let's just dead it right now. So you want to get back to talking football? It's going to take another day, Wednesday. They're going to ask more Dwayne questions, and then we're going to rid that of our systems, and we're going to move on after that. And you won't have to worry about any more Dwayne questions after that. So it's coming, but you're going to have to deal with it one more time. Miles Markin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Miles Markin writes, with all the QB talent in this year's draft, do you know how many scouting reports who you will evaluate? Thanks. I'm going to evaluate just about everybody, man. Like, I don't have any limitations on me this year. I'm looking to swing for the fences. I'm evaluating a guy that probably won't get drafted. All of these guys. So I'm going ham this year on the draft. I'm looking to really even surprise myself with how much draft content that I put out, how much draft intel I have, and how many guests I try to bring on the program and all of those things. Like, I'm looking to really knock it out of the park on the draft this year. I can't tell you how big or how much or whatever, this, that, the third. I can just tell you, expect all of it. That's the best I can give you right now, is the draft is going to be massive on this channel, this brand. That's for sure. Got a super chat here from Jake Willis. Thank you for the super chat, Jake Willis. Greatly appreciate you. Jake Willis writes, I didn't want to see him fail. I always said he wasn't ready, mentally or in his craft. He needs to learn. Sad day for him, but maybe this is the wake-up call he needed. I feel this exact same way. I was done here. Like, it couldn't exist here. But I never want to see anybody fail. I've already explained that. Like, once you are drafted here, once you're signed here, you're a member of the family. And whether I wanted you or not, like I said, if I don't want Curtis Samuel. I don't trust him. He's got 2 first names. But if they signed him next year to a 4-year, $42 million deal, am I going to be upset? No. Will I be disappointed? Maybe. But guess what? He's a part of the family now. So I'm going to embrace him. I'm going to hope for the best with him. And I'm going to want him to perform and prove me wrong and make me eat crow. But, at the end of the day, Dwayne, I didn't want Dwayne. You guys know this. I didn't think he was good enough to be a first-round quarterback. I thought he was a second-round quarterback. He had a second-round grade. I did not think Dwayne Haskins was worthy of a first-round pick. I did not want this organization. I didn't like him. I didn't like Daniel Jones. My guy was Drew Lock. And that may turn out to be a mistake, too. But I was a Drew Lock fan. Thought Drew Lock was ready to come in. And Jay Gruden, and you say what you want about Jay. Jay knows offense. Jay knows quarterbacks. Jay's a former quarterback himself. Jay said, I'll take Drew Lock. I don't want any of these other guys. Obviously, you weren't getting Kyler Murray. He was the other guy in that draft. You weren't getting Kyler Murray. He's going number 1 overall. But, Jay said, look, I'll take Drew Lock. He's got a bunch of experience, pro-style offense. Drew's ready to come in and play. I don't want any more of these other guys. That's how I felt. Well, we took Dwayne. And you know what I said? I'm going to welcome him with open arms, even though he said the league done messed up. I'm like, I could have did without that. But you know what? Welcome to DC, buddy. And for those of you out there that saying, oh, man, I feel bad for Dwayne. He's a hometown kid. He really wanted to put on for his hometown. First of all, he's not a hometown kid. The man was born in New York. He migrated here. Home for him is New York. He wanted the Giants to draft him. He was disappointed that the Giants took Daniel Jones over him. So let's just get that straight. He was okay with playing for Washington. He really wanted to play for the Giants. He was an Eli Manning fan growing up. So let's stop the hometown kid wanting to put on for the city. He's a New York guy. So let's just establish that too. Let's see. Got another super chat. This one is from K80 TIK. K80 Tick. Thank you for the super chat, K80 Tick, who writes, "Man, Lou, I've never almost broken a TV in my life. Gibson was carving up the defense. I don't understand this one. Hurt." Yeah. Don't break anything over this team. Please don't do that. That's not smart, because they're not going to pay for a new TV for you. Okay. But I understand where you're coming from. The reason I said that I felt like this was a failure on the part of the head coach and the offensive coordinator yesterday, and I still feel that way today, is because in terms of the head coach, you needed to understand where Dwayne was mentally and what he was doing. And I told you what he was going to think. He was relying, and he said it again today. He said it yesterday. He doubled down on it again today. And I was in his head. I went to school for psychology. So I knew what he was thinking. I was in Ron's head yesterday, but I still didn't like it because I'd seen enough. I saw enough after the first pick, which was the second turnover. I'd seen enough after the second pick, which was the third turnover. I don't need to see any more. Let's not go off of what he did last week in the second half against Seattle. He had a chance to build off of that in the first half of this game. I'm not giving him a chance to piss this game away. We can still win this game. Even though we're down 20-3, we can still salvage this game if I make a change. And if we don't, I won't feel like I made a mistake because he didn't show me anything in the first half. And I'm done. But he didn't. And the other thing that I thought was a big mistake was on the part of Scott Turner, the offensive coordinator. I thought there were so many opportunities to run the football in this game, and he just didn't. And when you're running it as effectively as we were, you want to go play action. That's the point. You run the football to set up play action fake. But you know what I also saw? I saw the Carolina Panthers on one possession run it 10 straight times for 80 yards and a touchdown. You know what their offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, said? Who will probably be a head coach next year? In his first year as the offensive coordinator of the Carolina Panthers, you know what he said? Well, if they can't stop it, if it's not broke, I'm not fixing it. So I'm going to just ram it down their throats. And he ran it 10 straight times. Right down our gullets. Our coordinator doesn't have the balls to do that. And I like our coordinator, just so you know, just for the record. Don't think that I'm against Scott Turner. I'm pro Scott Turner. Kenneth Hernandez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Kenneth Hernandez, who writes, depending on how Kelvin Harmon's ACL injury progresses, could he not be our wide receiver 2 next year, or is he more of a wide receiver 3? I think right now he's more of a wide receiver 3. He has to prove that he's a number 2 wide receiver. And so him missing his sophomore year doesn't do him any favors. Like, you can't go into next season saying, well, Kelvin Harmon is going to be our number 2 and don't do anything at receiver. You'll find yourself, what if he's not? You'll find yourself in the very same exact spot we're in right now. And like, that's what you're trying to guard against. That's why you go out and we're going to sign a veteran wide receiver. If I'm not confident about anything else this offseason, I don't know what we're going to do with Sheriff. I don't know what they're going to do with our first round pick. I don't know what they're going to do at safety or linebacker or tight end or any of that stuff. What I can assure you, I bet any amount of money, we're going to sign a free agent wide receiver. May not be the guy you want, may not be the guy that I want, but they're going to sign a free agent wide receiver. Vincent Cole, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Vincent Cole writes, Lou, now that he's not a part of the fam anymore, are you going to be more blunt with your opinion of Dwayne? LOL. Funny, Vincent. Funny. Just Andre, thank you for tripling up. Greatly appreciate you. Just Andre writes, if Ron lets Kyle walk, I'll let a foot out the car. I understand that. That would be an offense for you to unlock the door and open it up and decide if you want to get out or not. I can understand that. That wouldn't be a smart move on his part. I totally wouldn't agree. And I'm not taking my seatbelt off, not taking off the safety device, okay? But what I would do is I would turn to Ron as he's driving, and I don't want to distract him, But I would turn the radio off. Ron's cranking his tunes. And I'd turn that off, or at least down for a second, and I'd turn to Ron and say, why in the hell did you do that, Ron? And I want to hear what his response is. But I'm not getting out of the car. I'm going to be disappointed. And I'm going to ask Ron very bluntly, why did you do that? What was the psychological sense in that, player? You need to wash your face and get your mind right. And he'll give me some bullshit ass excuse. And guess what? I'm going to have to take it. What else am I going to do? But I'll be disappointed just like you would be. Got another super chat from JH from Greensboro, North Carolina. Double up. Thank you, JH from Greensboro, North Carolina, who writes, Lou, bro, okay, I'll deal with Steven Sims Jr. I know he's talented. And that's all I'm saying. I know a lot of you want, like, we did the same thing with Jamison Crowder. How many of you, after that Dallas game on a Thursday night where he fumbled twice and threw that game away, was like, I'm done with Jamison Crowder. Jamison Crowder had the worst year on punts. He fumbled a bunch of them. He muffed a bunch of punts. He cost us some games, single-handedly. Steven Sims has never single-handedly cost us a game. Now, he's been complicit. He's been an accessory to the fact in Arizona that early punt fumble was big in that game. So was Dwayne's fumble after an interception that would have given us a lead, or we might have been down 7-0 already. But that was a big fumbled punt by, Steven Sims in that game. This was a big mistake by him. The drop against Pittsburgh was huge in that game. Luckily, we came back and won, but that was a huge drop early. He's done some things. He's still talented, man. He's still talented. And he made a big catch yesterday. Got his feet down in bounds on a critical third down. Early in that game when we were struggling, it was Dwayne's first really big completion. He had to go up and climb the ladder for that football and get his feet down. He's talented, man. He can help. He really can. Let's see. Got another super chat here from Nith the Valiant. Thank you for the super chat. Nith the Valiant, who writes, greatly appreciate you, Nith the Valiant, who writes, hey, sorry to go back to the QB talk. No worries. No need to apologize. But what about Easton Stick from the Chargers? He is being wasted there, and I think he has the talent and potential to be special. Now, you're asking the wrong guy, because I disrespected, dismissed, and any other way you want to describe being flippant about a player, Easton Stick, a couple of years ago when he was drafted out of North Dakota State. People would ask me about Easton Stick. They would ask me about Gardner Minshew because they were in the same draft. And I said, don't ask me about, and I would always bring up Easton Stick. I said, don't ask me about Gardner Minshew. Don't ask me about Easton Stick. These guys are not getting drafted. Both of them got drafted. And I had egg all over my face. So Easton Stick is a guy that is coming from that football quarterback factory out there in North Dakota State. He was in between the two quarterbacks that are going to go really high in the draft, or have and will go really high. He was in between Carson Wentz and Trey Lance. He was the bridge between those two quarterbacks. So had a storied career at North Dakota State, a really good athlete. I don't know if he's the best passer of the football or not. I still got questions about his ability at the NFL level to throw the football, to stroke it. Okay. I can't sit here and definitively say he stinks, he can't do it. I just know he's been around the league and nobody's giving him a chance. And there have been some situations where you go, all right, Easton, get in there. We got nothing else. You get a shot. And so, matter of fact, I don't have my mobile device around me. I can check online, though, right quick and see if he's even still in the league right now. I know he got drafted in like the 6th or 7th round by the Chargers. He's still on the Chargers roster. 5th round pick, 2019 draft last year, as I mentioned. And he's still on their roster. So maybe they like him, maybe they don't. But, if they really felt the way you feel about Easton Stick, they wouldn't have drafted Justin Herbert. So it's hard for me to co-sign that. I can't tell you he can't do it. I just know that, the Chargers aren't in love with Easton Stick, or they wouldn't have drafted Justin Herbert and went out and signed Tyrod Taylor. Like, they've done everything in their power to not have to play Easton Stick. So that should tell you all you need to know about how they feel about him, not necessarily if he can play or not, just how they feel about him. So we'll see what happens with him. But he's got some talent. That's for sure. But, it's hard to really say, okay, this is what he did at North Dakota State. It definitely translates to the NFL. Got to see it on the field, William Lee, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, who writes, the benefit we get from releasing Dwayne is not letting him be a part of us winning the division, nor being a part of the playoff atmosphere when we host it. That's another thing. But, you're assuming we get there with him on the roster. He was such a distraction. He's so polarizing. Anytime you draft the first round quarterback and they don't work out, that's a big topic of discussion. Because that's a massive resource that you have spent, and you pour more resources into that first round pick when you draft him because you want that guy to be successful. And this is the second coaching staff that has come in and said, nah, I don't see it. I don't see the work ethic. I don't see the attention to detail. I don't see a guy that wants it bad enough. I don't see a guy that's mature enough to handle this job we call starting quarterback in the NFL. I just don't see it. And so you're going to get a bunch of questions during the week, even if they've already been answered. How did Dwayne look at practice today? I don't want to talk about number 7. If he's standing out at practice with his arms folded like this and one of the media members takes a picture of it, guess what Ron's going to have to answer after? Well, Dwayne was off to the side, kind of looking disgruntled. What do you say to Dwayne? Who gives a shit? He's the third string quarterback. Who gives a shit? Well, guess what? I don't have to answer that now. I don't have to talk about Dwayne's body language at practice. Practice? We're talking about practice. We don't have to do that anymore. I think it's more about that and the distraction that comes from having Dwayne on the roster than it is we don't want him partaking in the festivities of us winning the division. I don't even think that crossed their mind. They're like, we won't win the division if this guy's around because he's such a distraction. Let's move on. Let's see. Got another super chat. This one is from Metaphor. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Metaphor. Greatly appreciate you. My man Metaphor writes, Lou, I don't know. Samuel, you said disappointed ain't good. I'm going to tell you right now. I'd be disappointed in the decision when all of those other guys are out there. I'd be disappointed. When you tell me we got a shot at getting Chris Godwin from the Bucks. We got a shot to get Allen Robinson from the Bears. We got a shot to get Kenny Golladay from the Lions. We got a shot to get Juju Smith-Schuster from the Steelers. We got a shot to get Corey Davis from the Titans. And you settle for Curtis Samuel? That's the best we can do? We got a legit number 1B receiver or a 1A, depending on if you think he's better than Terry, one of these guys, or a legit bona fide, no question, no doubts about it, number 2. Or we can get a gadget guy in Curtis Samuel. I'd be disappointed. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm telling you how I would feel. I'd be disappointed in the moment. And maybe after the fact, we get him and he blows up and he's playing exceptional football and you guys tell me how wrong I was. Maybe then I'll be like, I was wrong. And I'll offer up a 00 and I'll say, man, they knew something and they know this guy intimately. Rivera was there when they drafted him. They know what he's capable of. Scott Turner saw him in this offense last year. They know what he is capable of. So they may be way more comfortable with the devil that they know than the devil that they don't know. Hey, we don't know these guys. We don't know how they'll fit in our offense. We know what Curtis will do. I just know he's got 2 first names and he's not a legit number 2 wide receiver in this league. That's why they went out and signed Robbie Anderson. Okay? They got 2 legit receivers, and then they got Curtis Samuel. That's what he is. He's a third option that can do a bunch of stuff. That's why they went out and signed Robbie Anderson. Not to mention that their head coach Matt Rule is signing every Baylor and Temple player he can get his hands on, and Robbie Anderson played for him at Temple. That's not the point, though. If he had confidence in Curtis Samuel, there's no need to go get Robbie Anderson. But he said, hey, I got a receiver and a half. Let me go get another guy, and then you can still be that half and be a damn good half. And he's been that this year when healthy. Thank you for that super chat. Chauncey Davis. Thank you for the super chat, Chauncey Davis. Greatly appreciate you. My man Chauncey writes, Lou, you're a good young man, but I don't ever want to disappoint you. LOL. Disappointment is such a strong word, and it's to be used wisely. Okay? I don't throw around the word disappointed very often. I'm mad, I'm upset, I'm pissed. But like I said, that's a fleeting emotion. It comes, it goes. Man, you could be steaming hot, worse than Willie Beeman for 10 minutes about something. And you sit down, you settle in, you got a chance to think about it, and you're good. You're cool. You've moved on. Everything's Gucci. But when you're disappointed, it just doesn't sit well with you. And if somebody brings it up, it strikes a chord and a nerve, and it takes you right back to the way you felt when it first happened. Like you're disappointed in that situation, you know? And I was disappointed in Dwayne. I was really disappointed yesterday because how I felt when I first saw the pictures, and I didn't know if it was him or not, but I'm like, that's definitely Dwayne Haskins. And maybe there's a excuse for this. Maybe there's more to this story. You know, the first thing is, well, I don't know when these pictures have been taken. And then you see maybe this was last year. And then you see the picture with his girlfriend with a mask. And you're like, well, that kills that theory. Weren't wearing masks this time last year. Sorry, buddy. Kills that theory. So, you know, I after that, all of that came, I said, Dwayne. And one of my videos was titled last week, I'm disappointed in Dwayne. I'm disappointed in the timing. Let's go win the division. Okay? I was disappointed in him then. But I was willing to let bygones because I knew this was bigger than him. It was about the other 52 guys in the locker room. And we need Dwayne. We needed him. And so I was willing to let bygones be bygones if he could come in and play well. Well, he didn't. And because of that, it made me go back to how I first felt when I said, you're compromising this entire roster with your nonsense, with your poor decision-making skills. You're compromising a coach that is battling cancer. You didn't think about that when you decided to have strippers come at your private party and not wear a mask? Like, come on, you're endangering a man's life. Not to mention every other player and every other staff member that comes in and out of that building. You didn't think about that at all? You were too selfish to give that a thought? Not to mention, it's the biggest week leading up to the biggest game of our season. And you think that this is okay the week before? You don't think in today's era of social media that this isn't going to get out? I was disappointed. And when he played the way he played on Sunday, it took me back to all of those emotions immediately. That's what disappointed does. When I'm mad about something, I can go back and laugh about it. You can bring it up a week later and I can sit there and I can laugh with you about it. Remember that time you were mad about? Yeah, that was crazy, man. I was tripping. You bring Dwayne up and what I just did, that little rant, that little mini 2-minute rant, that shit comes up because I'm disappointed. Thank you for the super chat, Chauncey Davis. Gignac the Big Mac. I like that. Did I just rhyme there too? Gignac the Big Mac. Thank you for the super chat. Woo! I did it again. I'm hot. Get Alex Smith out of here too. I'm sick of this fan base lauding his bare minimum performances while our defense puts in the real muscle for those wins. $20 million a year for this. Nah, we can do better. So I understand where you're coming from, and you're not wrong. Let me start by saying that you are not wrong. But what you don't see that Alex Smith does is the things that we've been missing over these last couple of games that we've lost. And while, Alex Smith going 21 of 30 for 202, one touchdown, no interceptions is bare minimum performances, as you mentioned. It's all the other things, the ancillary things that we don't see. Him getting us out of a bad play call. Him checking a run. When they called a pass in the huddle, they called a run in the pass and him checking to that run because we got a light box. It's him getting to the line of scrimmage and seeing that there's a blitz coming from his right and we're running into that blitz and then checking the run and moving it to the left. It's him being able to tell Cam Sims, hey, if they're playing cover 2, you sit here. If they're playing cover 3, stay outside. It's those little things that we don't see. Like Isaiah Wright in one of his pressers after, I want to say it was the Pittsburgh game. Him saying, look, man, Alex, as a matter of fact, it was the Detroit game. And that was one of his biggest games. And he said, Alex has helped me tremendously because, there was a play where I wasn't quite sure. And Alex said, hey, this is what you do. If this is the look we get, this is where you sit and I'm going to get it to you. And Alex got him the football. And it's those little things that Dwayne can't offer him. Kyle Allen's not going to offer him. It's a comfort level that you get with a veteran quarterback that's been there, done that, seen it all, and his ability to control pace and tempo. And you hear Dwayne or Ron talk about that all the time, controlling the pace and the tempo of the game that you just lose with other guys. So while I'm not blown away by, 19 of 30 for 178 and a touchdown, I know that there's more than just the stats that meets the eye for what we're trying to do right now. You're right. Moving forward, yeah, you do need an upgrade over that. Especially if you're going to spend that kind of bread, you need more out of your money. You want more bang for your buck. You're 110% right. But for where we are, a young team that needs veteran leadership, which is why Ron wanted to sign a veteran wide receiver, because you don't want the blind leading the blind. You need some veteran leadership because you're not going to have 22 Chase Youngs where everybody's mature and they get it and they come in and they're exceeding expectations. You're going to need some guys that need help, that need that veteran leadership, a guy that can put their arm around them and say, hey, this is what you do, or this is what you don't do, or this is how you prepare, this is how you train your body, this is how you study film, this is how you weight train. Like, you need those guys. And Alex Smith is a guy that leads by example. And I think when you make statements like that, you're understating all of the other things that he brings to the table. However, you're not wrong. We do need to upgrade the position. And I do want to see them make some kind of significant move this offseason to solidify that spot. And again, if he's not back next year, I wouldn't have a problem with it. If you told me bringing back Kyle Allen and if, Taylor Heinicke plays well, if he has to start again this week, and you tell me we're bringing back those two and we're going to draft a youngin', I'd be fine with that because I think with the defense and the way those guys play, I think we can be fine. Now, I told you I like Kyle Allen more than most. I'm not saying he's the answer. Remember, I just said I would want to draft a young guy in that situation. Guy that you think is the future. But I'd be fine with that. Thank you for the super chat. Gignac, the Big Mac. Got a super chat here from Keith Smith. Thank you for the super chat, Keith Smith. Greatly appreciate you. Keith Smith writes, we could have had A.J. Brown. Let that sink in, Louie. Sure. I mean, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but we did it. You could look at the we could have had Will Fuller. Wouldn't you take Will Fuller right now over Josh Doxson? Remember, we traded back one pick and let the Texans come up and select Will Fuller, and then we took Josh Doxson. Don't ever forget that. There's a lot of things we could have done, but we didn't. We could have had Derrick Henry. You remember that draft? What are you saying? There's a lot of things we could have done, but we didn't. Hindsight is 20/20. It's always crystal clear when you know the outcome. That's why I was so definitive when I was asked by Bad Dog, my man Bad Dog, that if I knew what I knew now, would I go back and draft a quarterback? Hell no. Give me Chase Young 10 more times out of 10. Even without knowing what I know now, I'd take Chase Young. Even now, what I know, I take Chase Young. But it's easy to go back and say we could have had this guy, we could have had that guy. Yeah, we could have, but we don't. And you could chalk that up to poor planning. You could chalk that up to guys that didn't know what the hell they were doing. It's a lot of stuff that we could have done differently. But Bruce was in charge. Enough said. David Sanchez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, David Sanchez, who writes, haven't drafted a successful quarterback. Should we get a vet? A wise man once told me this when it comes to quarterbacks. Just because you keep failing doesn't mean you stop trying to find the guy. Let me say that again for some of you who are a bit hearing impaired or takes a while to process some things. Let me say that one more time for you. A wise man once told me, just because you keep failing doesn't mean you stop trying to find a franchise quarterback. Let me say it one more time for those of you in the back that might not have heard that quite clear enough. Wise man once told me, just because you keep failing doesn't mean you stop trying to find a franchise quarterback. Okay, so hopefully that one sinks in. Hopefully that one sinks in. Don't stop looking because you have failed multiple times. Somebody once told me that's the definition of a quitter. Just got to take a different route. Got to take a different stance. All right? Just because you stepped up to the plate and you struck out 3 times this game doesn't mean you don't step up to the plate again. Hey, Jimmy, take my bat and my helmet. You go for me this time. I can't do it. No, you just quit. Maybe you need to go up and tweak a little something. Maybe you need to bring your hands in a little bit more. Maybe you need to relax your shoulders, relax your grip. You're trying too hard. Relax. See the ball, hit the ball. No, you don't stop trying because we failed a bunch of times. Take a different approach. Here's how we failed the last times. We didn't take character into consideration. You think that's important when you draft a quarterback? We didn't take Robert Griffin III's character into consideration. Didn't take his accountability into consideration. We ignored those red flags. Ran through those stop signs. That's a rolling stop. We didn't do that with Dwayne Haskins. Think we should do something different this time? Yeah, let's start with keeping Daniel Snyder's ass out of the war room. That's a great start. You can't come in here. Worry about your litigation. No, we shouldn't stop trying to draft a guy. And a vet may be what they ultimately decide to do, but they should never stop looking for a franchise quarterback. Thank you for that super chat. King of the North, greatly appreciate you. King of the North, thank you for the super chat who writes, why can't Gibson or 41 return punts? Not everybody that is dynamic is able to go and field a punt. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. One, you don't want to put a guy that you rely on so heavily back there to return kicks. It's the reason that, Washington would only put Darrell Green back there every so often when they really needed it, even though he was a dynamic punt returner. Same thing with Deshaun Jackson in his days in Philadelphia. They would only put him back there even though he was such a dynamic return man, when they needed it, because he's too valuable to the team. And what he does on the offensive or defensive side of the football, you don't put guys back there because it's a risky proposition. Guys get lambasted on special teams all the time. So if you can avoid that, you don't want to put a guy that you're relying on back there. So they wouldn't want to put Gibson or McKissick back there because they're too important to this team's success offensively to lose them on special teams. Anything could happen on special teams. You could call a fair catch and the gunner is blocking or the return guy on the outside is blocking the gunner and he gets blocked into your leg as you're fair catching the ball and you just tear your ACL. Doesn't happen often, but it could. Why chance it? Let's see. Santiago Tradell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Santiago Tradell writes, I don't care what anyone says. This feels like the same old crap our team used to do. until I see otherwise, leaks on players, coaches not taking responsibility, Scott Turner, this team is the same. I can't tell you to feel any differently. I can't. Actions speak louder than words. They do. And until I've seen some things that haven't resembled the last 20 years. So I feel a little bit more strongly than you do. But to your point, we did have leaks on Dwayne earlier this year when they were trying to deface him. When they tried to make everybody understand, this is why we're benching him. Here's why. Unprofessional. Not putting enough work. The work ethic isn't there. Like, we didn't need that. That screamed, that smelled like Bruce and Jay. Really Bruce. I'm going to leave Jay out of this. Jay was just along for the ride. That felt low Brent like Bruce. Coach is not taking responsibility. I think Scott Turner has taken culpability for some of the things he's done. I think here's the biggest difference between him not taking responsibility and him thinking he did the right thing is because he's got to F up at quarterback. So in his mind, while you think he should have run it more, and he probably agrees with you in hindsight, yeah, I probably should have run it more. In his mind, we ran it effectively enough to set up play action and it was open. And our guy just didn't get the football to where he was supposed to. And that's the way he's probably, and the film will tell me that. Like that play he got the sack fumble on, there might have been quick pressure off the edge on Cornelius Lucas. But there also may have been an open receiver that he could have gotten a football to. And he just didn't. You know, on the 4th and 2, there were 2 guys open. I don't need to watch the film to tell you that. He could have got that first down. He just didn't. Ron said in his presser today that when we got down there the first time after the Cam Sims big catch and run, we had 3 opportunities to get it in the end zone, and he felt like Dwayne missed 3 opportunities. I can't say that. I haven't watched the film. He may be right. And in Scott's mind, I dialed up some beauties that got us the looks that we needed to take advantage of, and Dwayne failed us. So he's not going to take responsibility for something that he didn't feel like he did wrong. Now, I've heard Scott say, I probably should have run it more. I've heard him say that this year. And this is one of those situations where I felt like you probably should have run it more. But he also probably thought, man, we're gashing them in the run game. They're going to respect play action fake. If we go hard fake, we should have some open receivers. Dwayne should be able to do some damage. And it didn't happen. So I was disappointed in Scott yesterday. You know, I definitely, and I say disappointed because I felt like that was a game where you needed to babysit Dwayne. I wasn't looking for Dwayne the superstar. I wasn't looking for Dwayne the first round pick. I was looking for Dwayne the caretaker, the game manager. And you needed to help him with that by saying, hey, bro, I don't know what kind of party you think this is, but you're not throwing it 30 times today. You're throwing it 23 times today. And that's the way it's going to be. And he didn't do that. He didn't take the football out of Dwayne's hands. He put it in his hands. And that's a dangerous thing to do to a guy that's trying to prove something to everybody. But I understand. I understand the way you feel, and you're not wrong in feeling that way. Got another super chat here from Horace Mebane. Thank you for the super chat, Horace. Greatly appreciate you. Horace writes, thanks for talking Washington football team news. After Sunday's game, we all need therapy. I'm here for it, man. And I told you guys were just as therapeutic for me as I was for you. So the feeling was mutual, really. Thank you for that, Horace Mebane. K80 Tick. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. K80 Tick writes, what do you think about Eagles? A lot of injuries on that defense. That game is there for the taking. I haven't watched Dallas Philly yet. It was blacked out in my area, so I've got to go back and watch the game in its entirety to see exactly what happened. However, we know we can beat the Eagles. We beat them already. We know we can beat the Eagles. It's a different animal. Obviously, there's no Carson Wentz now. It's a different animal at quarterback in Jalen Hurts. But we know we're capable, and their season is over. They have nothing to play for. Yeah, there are going to be some guys in there that want to play spoiler, but a lot of those guys have mentally checked out now. If we can't beat this Eagles team, this is a little bit different than 2016 from the standpoint of at least the 2016 Giants were going to the playoffs. So even though they had nothing to play for, they still wanted to kind of sharpen their skills for the playoffs. They knew they were playing the next week against the Green Bay Packers. So they had nothing to play for from the standpoint of, hey, we already locked into the 5 seed. We're going to be playing the Green Bay Packers on the road. So it is what it is. However, this Eagles team has absolutely zero to play for other than misery loves company. We'd love nothing more than to knock you out of the postseason. And there are going to be some guys in that locker room that are dying to knock us out of the playoffs. Can't stand us, want to see us lose and be miserable like them. But you're going to get some guys in that locker room like, man, to hell with this shit. I'm going to just play the string out. I'm ready to go. So, and then you're going to get some guys, because of those injuries that you speak of, are going to get an opportunity to play, and they're starving. They're hungry to put on some good tape. Those guys are the most dangerous in these situations, by the way. So, it's going to be interesting because, as you saw yesterday, the Eagles don't have to show up and be world beaters. We are capable, as we've done multiple times this season, of beating ourselves. We're fully capable of turning it over 5 times and having the Eagles get out of CenturyLink with a 20-16 victory. We're perfectly capable of self-destructing and losing 27-19. We've done it multiple times this season. Did it against the Browns, did it against the Giants the second time around, did it against the Carolina Panthers this past weekend. So we're perfectly capable of going in there and wetting the bed. More likely to happen if Taylor Heinicke starts than if Alex Smith starts. But it definitely exists. So that game is not a lock, nor a shoe-in or any other way you would describe a definite. I'm nervous. I didn't want this. That's why last week all I talked about was getting this done so that Terry wouldn't have to try to go on a bum ankle, so that Antonio Gibson wouldn't have to try to go on his toe, so that Morgan Moses could allow his groin to have an extra week of rest, because I didn't want to face the Eagles in a win and you're in situation. And now everything that I was afraid of is staring us right in the face. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat and tripling up. My man Metaphor writes, F begons with Dwayne. Just buy. You're gone. I don't need to add anything to that. Media Truth. Thank you for the super chat, Media Truth. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Cam Newton while we wait and groom the next franchise quarterback. Absolutely, 110% unequivocally, no. 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 Thank you, Media Truth. Keith Smith. Thank you for doubling up. Double up. Keith Smith. Appreciate you doubling up. Who writes, if Alex played in all year, we'd be 10-5 right now. Maybe. Hard to say. You know, I'd like to think we would have won at least one of those Giants games. Maybe both of them. If Alex plays from the start. Honestly, if Kyle Allen had started from start to finish, we might be 10-5 right now. I honestly really like the way he was running this offense. I know a lot of you, oh, he's turned over this and he's that. Well, he was running the shit out of this offense, okay? And I was pleased with what I got out of Kyle Allen. So, honestly, with what we've seen from the defense of late and what they're capable of, I strongly believe that if Kyle Allen were our quarterback for the entire season, we'd be 10-5 right now. Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds accurate. I think we sweep the Giants. That right there gets you to 8-7 on the season. I think that I don't know if we still beat Arizona or not. You know, I think we beat Cleveland. I think that is a definite yes. We beat Cleveland. And I mean, we beat Carolina, to be honest with you. So, yeah, 10-5 sounds about right. And I just want to bring this up for all of you Kyle Allen haters out there. And I'm not looking to convince you. I'm not looking to turn you, into Kyle Allen supporters. Only his play would do that. Nothing I can say can change your mind. However, just know that had he started more games, we wouldn't be talking about a team that has gone 15 weeks or 15 games, 16 weeks without a first drive touchdown. Remember, he took us down the field on the opening possession of the game versus Dallas. We got to the 6-inch yard line and couldn't get in. He did that. And then the first play against the Giants on our opening possession is a 20-yard pass, run and catch and run to Antonio Gibson, who then subsequently fumbles. We were going down the field for points in that game, just so you know. And before he got hurt, he hadn't been stopped on offense yet. Okay? We had a fumble, and we had a drop on third down by Logan Thomas. He himself hadn't been stopped in that game. And we were moving the ball on the third possession. So you had a fumble on a 20-yard completion on the first possession against the Giants the second time around. On the second possession, he makes a beautiful throw on third down to Logan Thomas, and he drops it. That would have netted us a first down in Giants territory. And then on the third possession, he's moving us down the field and gets leg whipped and breaks his ankle. Alex comes in, finishes off that drive, and I think we ultimately got 3 points on that possession. So, anyway, I digress. Sorry about that. Enigma RJ, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Enigma RJ, who writes, "Sup, Lou? I'm looking forward to what Taylor can do. I noticed that the O-line looking good. The time they gave Taylor was the best I've seen all year. I think he was standing back there for a full 12 seconds. Some of that was just them, being soft in coverage. Like, Taylor did a lot of good things. Some of it was against the Panthers, essentially saying, hey, let's just keep everything in front of us. What was really impressive is that they were playing soft, and he still got behind them twice and should have had 2 deep ball completions, but instead they were dropped by, Logan Thomas and Cam Sims. But I thought he did some really good things, man. They even blitzed him, and he responded to that well, got it to Antonio Gibson for a 7-yard gain on a 2nd and 10. I thought he responded to every situation he was put in. When there was nothing open, he wasn't comfortable, he tucked it and he ran. I was impressed. But again, I've watched him at Old Dominion, so I know what he's capable of. Again, much like I said with Easton Stick, it's one thing to see it in college. It's another thing to see if it translates to the NFL. It's one thing when you're playing against, Monmouth and Liberty, or Charlotte, which is, who ODU is playing against in their conference. And it's another thing when you get in the NFL and, you're playing against elite level athletes. So I thought he did some really good things. And I think Ron was really impressed, which is why they felt comfortable doing what they did today. Got another super chat. This one is from all right, next super chat is from David Sanchez. Double up. David Sanchez writes, what team will want Haskins? I keep saying it's Pittsburgh Steelers. I could be wrong. They might not want anything to do with him. But that seems like a stable enough organization that will be able to take him in. I feel like wherever he goes, they've got to have a veteran already entrenched that will allow Dwayne to sit and learn and just kind of take in the process and learn what it's like to be a pro. And it needs to be an organization that truly believes in him. Like, Dwayne needs to hear from someone, I believe in you. You're talented. You can do this. I don't think that was ever said to him here. The first regime didn't want him. This regime didn't necessarily want him. He was thrusted upon them. So I don't know if he ever heard, I believe in you. You can do this. That being said, you also have to still put in the work. And we kept hearing from him, Alex Smith as a mentor has been great. Alex has shown me how to work. I don't know if that ever truly really set in for him. So playing behind Ben for 2 years and sitting and waiting and learning and watching may actually do him. And having Mike Tomlin as a real influence on him may be exactly what the doctor ordered for him. But again, it's got to be somebody that wants him, that believes in him, that thought he was talented coming out in 2019. And just feels like Washington was a toxic environment and that nobody succeeds there. And we can fix whatever, is broken with Dwayne. So we'll see what happens. My money was on Pittsburgh. But again, that's the low hanging fruit. Like, I'm not telling you anything that, you haven't heard already. There could be a dark horse team in there, like a Chicago. But I just don't see it. I don't see it. Mark McCullough, thank you for the super chat. Mark McCullough, who writes, "Hey Louie, think Taylor is good enough to beat the Eagles? With a small sample size, we got hope to sign Dak." I mean, again, it's hard to extrapolate what he did in about 8 minutes of game action, 6 minutes really, 6 to 7 minutes of game action over the life of 4 quarters. Because you just don't know what defenses are going to do to him once, he's not in a, hey, let's just not give it up over the top type of situation. But with that being said, I saw all of the intangibles, all of the little things that you need to do in order to be successful during the course of a game. Whether it's scrambling on 3rd and 4 and getting 5, or on 2nd and 10, hitting a check down when they come with blitz pressure to get 7 to set up a 3rd and 3, or, you see that they're dropping deep in their zones and you got an underneath defender wide open, and you just don't throw it 510 miles an hour, but rather just a little touch on it. I'm not looking to jam your finger. I just want you to catch the football. So, and then when they make a mistake over the top, I don't hesitate. I'm looking to be great. I'm going to put it out there and put a lot of air under it so you can run and make a play. And guys just didn't make plays for him. I liked everything I saw. So, yes, very small sample size. Definitively, can I say he can beat the Eagles? No. But do I feel confident after seeing that? Sure I do. But I was the same guy that told you I felt confident after watching Dwayne in the second half against Seattle. How'd that turn out for us? So, again, it's hard to say. It really is. As far as signing Dak is concerned, I don't think he's allowed to leave Dallas. Personally, I think the Cowboys aren't interested in him hitting free agency. And I think if they can't come to some kind of long-term agreement, you could see Dak Prescott franchised again, which is not good for Dallas, which means they would definitely reach a long-term agreement with him because they're not in a position to spend $40 million under the cap in 1 year. They're not in a position to do that. The Cowboys just aren't. So I just don't think they're going to allow Dak to leave Dallas. Personally. Protect Sports, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Protect Sports writes, I like Kyle Allen as a backup and short-term starter. Again, that's the way I view him right now. I told you that I was intrigued as him being a long-term option, but he wouldn't have had to have played the rest of the season and have played extremely well and led us to the playoffs for me to sign up for Kyle Allen without drafting a youngin. If Kyle Allen is re-signed and brought back, it is in a backup or a short-term starter capacity. I'm not looking for him to necessarily grab the reins and, establish himself as a starter. I'm just looking for him to buy time while the youngin figures it out. And, and if Kyle Allen so happens to lead us to a division while we're waiting, great. Awesome. You might run into a Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers situation, which would be ideal. Because while you're waiting for the young fella to figure it out and grow and mature and season, you're winning. What's better than that? Got another super chat. This one is from Malcolm Goodall. Thank you for the super chat, Malcolm Goodall, who writes, how about we pick up Tyrod Taylor after the draft? Seems like guys thrive coming in behind him. When you put it that way, sure, why not? Okay. But if you're just talking about straight up, Tyrod Taylor leading this team, hell no. But when you put it that way, Josh Allen and Justin Herbert, okay. And Also, that quarterback needs to have a first name that starts with a J. Just so we're clear. But yeah, when you put it that way, sure. Why not? Good observation. Malcolm Goodall. That's funny. Protect Sports, thank you for doubling up. Double up. Greatly appreciate you, Protect Sports, who writes, still want a franchise QB, though. Kyle is cool, though. Yeah, we're on the same page. We're here. Still want a franchise. I told you, my best offseason quarterback scenario would be re-sign Kyle, not going to cost you a lot of money. Bring back Taylor Heinicke. That shouldn't be too expensive either. And then draft a youngin. That way you got two quarterbacks to keep the youngin from having to play. And, you know, if it's a Tua Tagovailoa situation where you get to week 6 and Kyle Allen has this team at 3-3, but you're like, hey, the young fella's looking good in practice. He's ready to go. Pull the trigger. Pull the trigger. But if he's not, and it's a Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes type of situation where Kyle Allen takes this team to 11-5 and we win the division, so be that. Either way, you know, at some point you're turning the reins over to the young fella. And that's what I would sign up for. So, anyway, that's the last super chat. I quickly want to get into Ron Rivera and his presser, and I do want to acknowledge that this game, let's start there. This game has been flexed into Sunday night football. We'll know the outcome of the Dallas Giants game. It's a 1:00 kick. So, honestly, they could have just made this a 4:25 kick. They didn't have to flex us. Like, there's nothing better to do. So, they put us in that spot. I'd be lying to you if I said I was excited. I'm not. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm going to be on pins and needles the entire day. I'm going to have knots in my stomach. They just... You want me to tell you something else that was frustrating about yesterday? One of the things that really pissed me off about yesterday is that they made me wait until 4:05 to get my ass whooped. I sat through the 1:00 games. The excitement, the anticipation began to build. We got all these tweets coming out about this guy and that guy, and Chase has the C on his chest, and all of this shit just got to build for an additional 3 hours. And I got to watch the Giants get their ass whooped, and I'm like, this is really happening. We got a chance to clinch today. I got a chance to have week 17 just be kick back and relax. That's what week 17 was going to be. And all of that shit got to set in. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about, man, this is going to be an epic show after this. I'm going to be so excited. We're going to win this division. Put Philly, Dallas, and the Giants out of their misery. This is going to be great. And in the back of my mind, I'm saying, hey, don't you, Charlie Brown, don't you go kicking that football. You know what this team does. I'm like, this feels different, though. And they pushed us back to 4:05. How great is this? And all of that shit got to build and build and build. And it got to this crescendo. And then it's like somebody just pulled the damn rug from under me. Or, go with the Charlie Brown analogy, Lucy moved the football, or as the Washington football team usually does, they pulled the football right out as I was going to kick it. And I tweeted this out, and I did a double somersault in the air. And I somersaulted, and I fell right back. Boom. And I'm looking up at the sky, and I'm saying, why did I do that? Why did I get so excited to have this shit happen again? And I thought to myself, you know what? This would have felt a lot less bad if it was 1:00. Because at least I wouldn't have had an additional 3 hours to think about what if. What if? What if? Because I don't get up early on Sundays. I don't get to partake in all of the tweets and all of that shit. I get up at 12 o'clock. You know, brush my teeth. I groom myself. I come down, I make breakfast, and literally by the time I'm done eating breakfast, it's 12:53. Just enough time to set up my situation, get all my screens in front of me, and I'm locked, loaded, and ready to go. I don't have time to think about anything. It's football time. But you know what? 4 o'clock. I got time to sit and let that shit build and build and build and build, only to be let down. So it made it that much worse. And you know what? I'm going to have all day Sunday as I watch a million 1 o'clock games. All day Sunday as I watch a million more 4 o'clock games. And I'm going to get to sit and think. And then I'm going to watch the Giants and Cowboys game. And Dallas is going to win that game. And I'm going to sit there and I'm going to be like, if we don't win, these bastards get a free ticket to the dance. Our ticket to the dance. The shit says Washington on it. And Dallas is just going to take a black permanent marker, scratch it out, and write in scrambled, nasty, funky-ass handwriting, boys. And hand the ticket to the bouncer, and he's going to look at it and say, this some bullshit, but go on in. It's a legit ticket. I don't want what happened to me this week to happen to me next week. It'll be way worse next week because it's not 4:05, it's 8:20. I didn't ask for this. I did not want this. It is what we have gotten. And you know what Ron said? Now let's transition to Ron. I knew this was going to happen though. The minute we lost, I said, is there another game that can bail us out? And the only other game that would have been able to bail us out would have been if Cleveland would have won and Pittsburgh would have lost. That would have been for the division. They would have put that one on in a hurry. Steelers, Browns, for all the marbles in the AFC North, and I would have been fine with that. But the Steelers won and the Browns lost and the Steelers won the division. There's nothing there. Well, do the Titans and the Texans play? Do the Titans and the Colts play? Because that would make a great win and you're in situation. Nope, they've already played each other twice. Can't help you there. Shit. All right, well, okay, there's got to be something else we can do. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, all right, there's got to be another division that's on the line. What about, and they said no. Those were the only two, okay? Stop it, guy. Just stop it. You're the only show in town. I'll say, well, you could always put on the Giants and the Cowboys, right? Why wouldn't the hell would we do that? If you win, that game's meaningless. I said, you're right. I said, but they said, no buts, dude. You're on Sunday night. Deal with it. Fine. I got no way out. So Ron steps up to the podium and he says, I like that they moved us to Sunday night. The fellas have responded well to the big stage. They put us on Thanksgiving. They responded well. They put us on against the Steelers. They responded well again. Fine. Have it your way. I'm not confident. I'm not happy about this, but I hope that these guys do what they've done the first two times and respond to this moment. I said that Ron had a hell of a presser. A lot of good shit from Ron. And obviously this presser was before Dwayne was announced to be released. Ron already knew. Because it was funny because I didn't watch this presser until after the news of Ron or Dwayne being released. So now I was trying, again, I'm petty. So I'm not watching this thing and just listening. I'm listening now with the intent to see if he danced around some Dwayne questions knowing that I don't have to answer this shit. He's gone. I'm getting rid of his ass. I just didn't want to do it before I had to come talk to you guys. And there was one question in particular, and I think it was from Nikki Javala of the Athletic. And she said, so since he's been benched, what are you looking for from Dwayne moving forward? And these are the type of questions that if you're Ron Rivera, these are the questions that drive you nuts. This is the reason you want him gone. I don't want to answer any of those questions. I don't give a shit about Dwayne. He's not playing anymore. Why are you asking me about a third string quarterback? That's why you move on from him. So she asked the question, and Ron pauses and he says, and you can tell he was searching for something in his head. It caught him off guard because he's like, what am I supposed to? I can't tell him I'm getting rid of him. I want to, but I'm not. He's like, just get better. And that was the end of the press conference. He just want to see him get better. Yeah, somewhere else. So, Ron talked about this team. He talked about wanting to see them get off to faster starts. Again, not something that we don't already know. He talked about why he decided to go to Taylor and why he waited till when he did, which I told you already what it was. I had already gotten into Ron's head already. And I told you yesterday on overtime, before I even heard him speak, that he was thinking Dwayne against the Seahawks in the second half was outstanding. All right. You can't deny that Dwayne wasn't out. He was outstanding. He had one bad mistake in the second half. That was the interception. Outside of that, he led us on 2 touchdown marches and nearly a third. And he was making all the right decisions, all the right throws, all the right reads, all the right decisions, running when he needed to run. He was extending plays. He did everything in that game. And Ron said, maybe it's just another one of those starts where he gets off to a slow start. He's pressing a little bit. He gets warmed up. That's always Ron's thing. They just got to warm up a bit. Nope. I can tell you, I needed to see continuation from that second half starting in this game. There can't be another one of those cold spells and then you try to heat up. Nope, not going to work this time. So he talked about Taylor coming in. And remember, yesterday he was like lukewarm on Taylor. Like, he came in. He described his performance yesterday as gutsy. Anytime a coach, the best they can do for you is gutsy, that means I got nothing for you, man. He was in a tough spot. I put him in a tough position, and he gave me all he had. Gutsy is what I say if I bring in a guy midway through the third. He goes 8 of 19 for 92 yards and 2 interceptions. That was a gutsy performance. No reps all week. He gave me everything he had, and it wasn't good enough. It was gutsy. Translation, that shit wasn't good enough, but that's the best he could do with what we gave him. Right? We gave the man, 3 good cards and 9 funnies. 11. We gave him 3 good cards and 10 funnies, and told him to figure it out. Not happening. He was better than gutsy, and I needed Ron to acknowledge that, and today he did. He was like, I was really impressed with Taylor. And if Alex can't go, Taylor's going to start, which we all knew. Like I said yesterday, we all said that Dwayne's done in this town. He's done. So that wasn't a surprise. We just needed to hear it from Ron. And he was non-committal on Taylor yesterday. Well, today he was gushing about Taylor. Taylor threw it well, thought that he read it out well, thought he used his feet well, thought he made great decisions. He's like, he just had one miss, one ball that he didn't hit that we thought got away from him. Other than that, we thought he gave our guys a chance. And then Ron said something that I didn't think he was going to say. And he said, and I thought he actually led us on 2 touchdown drives, not 1. Because personally, I thought that call on Wes Schweitzer, the holding call, was bullshit. He didn't say bullshit. He said, I thought it was a bogus call. I didn't like it. What did I say yesterday? I had somebody in the MOBB saying, what are you guys complaining about? That's a hold. That's the right call. And I'm like, it's not that it's a hold. Holding happens on every play. It does. You can call holding on every single snap. There's not a play that takes place in the NFL that holding doesn't exist. That's not the point. There are times that you call it. There are times that it impacts plays and you have to. And there are other times where you just look at that and say, that was a hold. I'm not calling it though. Officials do it all the time. Last week in that Hail Mary situation against Seattle, I told you that was a hold, but I did not like the call versus Wes Schweitzer. It was a bogus call. And had we caught that and it be negated because of that bullshit, I would have been steaming worse than Willie Beeman. I wasn't as mad because I didn't think Taylor Heinicke was going to bring us back. Even if that touchdown counted. I wanted it to count because I told you I hadn't given up yet. I hadn't waved the white flag. So I wanted it to count with 4 minutes left and all 3 of your timeouts. Carolina is done scoring for the day. Why the hell not? And then they call that bullshit. And I watched the replay and I'm like, who the hell? Who was Wes? Wes, why the hell you do that? Then they show me the replay and I'm like, that won't no damn hold, man. Why y'all call that? My bad, Wes. I had to apologize to Wes. That's bullshit. Don't call that. But they did. And Ron thought the same thing. That's bogus. Don't call that. Don't negate. That was a hell of a play by Taylor. It's a hell of a play by Taylor. I'm like, man, this Heine is cold. It's good. This is some good Heine right here. That was a hell of a play. He stood in the pocket. He waited. He got out of the pocket. He waited some more. And as the rush was getting there, boop, Logan Thomas touchdown. And you're going to tell me, nope, that doesn't count. That was holding. That felt like some Remember the Titan shit when you knew they were cheating Coach Herman Boone. When they were calling flags, you're like, come on, man. That's not a flag. And that's not a good analogy, but that's what it felt like in the moment. Like, really? You're going to call that seriously? I mean, really? You already hurt us with the fumble? Early whistle? You really going to call that right now? You owe us one. He's like, I don't owe you a damn thing. Fine. You have it your way. So Ron did say he didn't think that was a holding penalty. He thought Taylor took him down the field on 2 scoring drives, not 1, 2. I agreed with him. He also said that he feels like this team is playing with house money. And then there was this big discussion about the record and you had what's her name from The Athletic? Rhiannon Walker say, hey, Ron, look, just for the record, I had you at 7-9 before the season started. All right. And I didn't have you winning the division, but I had you at 7-9, and I took a lot of flack for that. Somebody else had the team going 7-9, and I'm going to run that back. Don't worry. I'm going to run that back. But, it was a joke. It was funny. And, Ron said, I'm going to tell the guys, and I kind of told them this already, but I'm going to tell the guys, we playing with house money, because all the pressure is on us. That's how it feels. Like, we had this thing locked up last week. If we would have won, we didn't. And now, if you don't win, you're not winning the division. There's no way that you can lose this game and still win the division. Like, all the pressure is on you. And Ron's like, nah. I don't want them to feel like all the pressure's on them and they go into this game tight. I'm going to tell these guys, there's no pressure in this game. Go out and have fun. You've played your best ball when you've had fun. We're playing with house money. Who thought we were going to be here before the season started? Ron said, none of you did. I was the only one that thought. And a lot of you laughed at me when I talked about the division and we were 1-4 or we were 2-5. A lot of you laughed at me after that first Giants game and we were 1-5. And I was still talking about the division. A lot of you laughed at me when I was still talking about the division and we were 2-7 after the Detroit game. I was the one that believed. Nobody believed in this team. You didn't think we were going to be here. Nobody did. So you know what? Just go out and play ball, fellas. We playing with house money. We're not supposed to be here. We're the party crashers. I love it. That's the message. That's the message this week. And then somebody brought up, despite you leading the division, you're going on the road and you're 1-point dogs, which that could change. Normally you get 3 points when you're at home. That if it's a 3-point game, usually that means it's a pick'em, essentially. If you were at a neutral site, this game would be a pick'em. But you're home, so they give you 3 points. It's a little different this year. But what essentially Vegas is saying is we just don't think you're good. We don't think you're any good. We don't know what your quarterback situation is. You're not good enough. Use that too. And Ron pretty much was like, yeah, I'll use that as well. I love it. All the motivation stacking on top of each other this week. He talked about Terry's ankle. He said, look, we didn't have Terry on the sidelines. We had him up in the press box because we didn't want him on his foot. He's in a walking boot right now. His ankle it's a high ankle sprain. This is the first time we heard the term high ankle sprain. We just thought he had a sprained ankle. High ankle is worse than a regular ankle sprain. If you've ever had one, I don't have to explain that to you. So once I heard high ankle sprain, it went from, oh, Terry might be able to play. He got a full week off. He'll get another week off this week, and he might be able to play. It went from that to, Terry's not playing this week. Unless there's some kind of miracle, I don't see it. He'll be all go. All systems go for the playoffs if we make it. Terry's not playing this week, I don't think. He talked about Antonio Gibson's toe. He said that he looked good, no worse for the wear, wasn't limping. Came in for some treatment today. Didn't seem to be any worse for the wear. He said, however, there were a couple of plays in the game where he thought if he were healthy, he might have been able to do something different. But that's nor here nor there. It seems like we may have gotten out of that game and unscathed from that standpoint with Antonio Gibson. He talked about, what else did he talk about? He talked about the Eagles' angle of this. And how they, don't have anything to play for, but there are going to be guys in that locker room that are going to be playing for pride and guys that want to do nothing but play spoiler. And he also talked about J.J. Watt's speech after the game yesterday. And I hadn't yet seen it. I don't know if you guys recall this. I don't know if it was on the Washington overtime show or if it was on the Green Bay, Tennessee overtime show. I think it was the Green Bay, Tennessee overtime Sunday Night Football show that somebody brought it up and said, did you see J.J. Watt's speech after the game? And I said, no, I missed that. I haven't seen it yet. Eventually I would get around to it, but I hadn't seen it. And one of you guys, and I really appreciate you for this, and I always appreciate when you guys send me things that you find interesting. Even if I don't find it interesting, how will you know if you don't send it? So somebody sent me the J.J. Watt thing, and it was like, you know what I'm thinking. And I knew exactly what he was thinking, that he just described everything that Dwayne Haskins wasn't. He wasn't a professional. And so he sent me that, and I think he was sending it for that purpose, but I don't know if you guys remember, but I think it was on the Washington overtime rant. It might have show. It might have been on the Sunday night overtime, but I had a mini rant on how sometimes I don't think the players in ownership and people of importance within an organization understand how much this shit means to us, how much our fandom means to us, how seriously we take this. We care about this. And I went on like a 2-minute diatribe and pretty much spilled my guts on how I feel. And I'm projecting that on you guys because you care enough that you're joining me on these programs every week. On every time I go live, you're joining me because you care. You're taking time out of your busy schedules, out of your lives, because you care. We care. And sometimes I don't think owners and players get that. Some people are selfish and others just don't even think about it. Not that they're selfish, they're just not thinking about that. And that's okay. But it was refreshing to hear a player acknowledge that we matter because we care. We care sometimes to a fault too much, but we care. And Ron brought that up to say there are going to be guys with pride. Like, you get paid to do a job. And if you can't show up in week 16 or 17, despite your record, and play hard for all of the fans out there, or play hard because of the jersey you wear or the name on the back of the jersey, then you shouldn't be here. And he said, I feel the worst. This is J.J. Watt I'm speaking of. I feel the worst for the fans that we're 4-11 and we stink and that we can't put a better product out there for them. Because they show up every week. And I run into people out in the streets and they tell me how much this means to them and how badly they want us to win. We're 4-11. We stink. They shouldn't care, but they do. And essentially, that's the essence of being a fan. I can't tell you how to feel or whether you should quit or if a team makes you so furious that you just can't root anymore or not. And I follow all of the little dramas and stuff. I don't get into that stuff. That's over my head. I don't get into that stuff. But I know most of you that follow me or watch this program or follow the brand. You're also following Burgundy Blog and, some of these other outlets. And, Burgundy Blog had hung it up for a little while. He was so frustrated earlier in the season. He stopped tweeting. He stopped posting, all that good jazz. And then when we went on the winning streak, he came back. And that's okay. I've always said, once a family member, always a family member. There will always be room on the bandwagon for you. But some people took umbrage to that. Some people were pissed off. You don't get to leave and then come back when we start winning. Well, who are you to decide when he gets to come back? Man's been a fan his entire life. The team stinks. He's up to here. He's had it. He couldn't do it anymore. He was burnt out. But I get it from the other end of the spectrum, too. If you're a fan, you don't quit on the team. You just don't do it. So I get that, but then I get where he's coming from. And that's why I stay out of those affairs. Because who am I to tell you how to feel? I just know this. Ron acknowledged the fact that, I said all of that to say this. Ron acknowledged the fact that the Eagles have something to play for. And after watching what J.J. Watt said, and everybody's seen it by now, if you don't get a chill watching that, if you don't get that as a player, forget about the fans. And I'm glad he acknowledged us because we are the essence of what they do. We are why they exist. But Ron essentially used that moment to say, if you don't understand what he's saying about being a 4-11 team and having a chance to go out and win a game in week 7, then you just don't get it. There are going to be guys in that Eagles locker room that want to win, that are prideful, that want to play well, that want to put good film out there. Maybe they're not an Eagle next year, but they'll be in this league if they put out good film. That's why you can't just show up and expect to win, especially not against a family member. It's not how this works. It's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Anyway, I think I got another super chat. So I want to go ahead and get to that. Got a super chat from DMV Sports Zone. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, DMV Sports Zone. What's up, LT? Think the running back group is settled? Should collab? I already told you this before. Shoot me a DM. As far as the running back group is concerned, I don't think it's settled. You can upgrade that group. Gibson and McKissick are locks. They're not going anywhere. But are any of us, and I heard this the other day, and I'm starting to think it's true. I heard a rumor that Ron Rivera and company don't think that Bryce Love is ever going to be what he once was at Stanford. They think that this injury has been so detrimental to his knee that he'll never be what he once was. And that it's essentially a wasted 4th round pick. That's the word out on the street. Is it true? I don't know. Is that how they really feel? We'll see. If they release him this offseason, yeah. That's probably the sense that they get. But, I mean, we all understand the value that is Peyton Barber. We know what he does. We love it because I've never felt like 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 is automatic. Not the way that I do with Peyton Barber. And so there's something to be said about that. But at the same time, wouldn't you like to upgrade that third back on the roster? Now, if you told me I can make space for Peyton Barber and he can be just the 3rd and 4th down, I would love to have him. That is such a comforting feeling to know that if we get in, I see teams all the time fail on 3rd and 4th and 1. And I look at them and I say, Peyton Barber would have got that shit. Every time. I'm watching the Rams yesterday fail on a 4th and 1. Failed on 3rd and 1, went for it on 4th and 1 and got stopped. And I'm like, Peyton Barber would have got that shit. I'm watching all these games and these teams struggling to convert on 3rd and 4th and inches, and I'm like, I don't have that problem. Peyton Barber would have got that shit. And, that's just a really good feeling to have, And there are times where he's gotten hit in the backfield for a 1-yard loss on 4th and 1, like the Cowboys game, and somehow he spins out of that, bounces off another guy, and falls forward and gets a yard and a half. And you're like, only Peyton Barber. Anybody on this team other than Peyton Barber, and it's turnover on downs. So, hell, we did it the other day when we got cute with Logan Thomas and that quarterback sneak and Carolina stop. I'm like, why? We got Peyton Barber. Why? We got an automatic first down. Why? Don't ask me. I don't know. Stop asking. I can't tell you why. But as far as that group is concerned, they're going to add another guy, and he's going to compete. But I think Ron loves Peyton Barber, and I think there is a role for him on this team. But I think you can add another back. I do. And if you add a back, I don't think it's a back in the league. It's a young back. They come a dime a dozen. You can find one in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. You can find a back. The Jacksonville Jaguars have one of the better rookie running backs in the league this year, and he's undrafted out of Illinois State and James Robinson. You can find running backs anywhere. So I think they'll add another running back to this team before it's all said and done. Got another super chat. Wendell Barty, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Wendell Barty writes, Sunday night football for the division. White on white unis? I think so. I think that's the move. And I think we're 2-0 in those in some big games. I didn't necessarily feel like the 49ers was a big game per se, but coming off the heels of the Steelers game, you wanted to continue with that momentum. And so they rocked them again. And they got the job done. And I think the white on whites are primarily a road thing for us. So, yeah. Could there be a bigger time than Week 17 division on the line to roll out the white on whites? I think not. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to white on whites. I'd be actually really disappointed if they didn't bust them out on Sunday night. CGM87, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you as always. CGM87 writes, Lou, welcome back to 16 losing big games and playing flat. I think Hurts will light us up. D was okay, but not good enough. Scott was as bad as Dwayne. I'm not as pessimistic. There was a disappointing quality to yesterday's performance. At one point, I said in the MOBB, we're getting dominated. That third quarter possession, even though it ended in a Chase Young forced fumble, they ate up half of the third. Like, it reminded me, I told you, this game was like the 2 Giants games rolled into one game. It was sickening. If you remember the first Giants game, Daniel Jones had a drive that literally took up like 11 minutes of the third quarter clock. And it ended in a Kendall Fuller interception. So all of that, eating up all that clock, we could not get off the field. The Giants, I think, were 7 of 14 or 7 of 11, something like that, in that game on third downs. We were awful that game on third downs. Could not get off the field. And they ate up essentially the entire third quarter clock on one drive. And it ended without them getting any points. And the same thing happened in this game. Teddy Bridgewater and the Carolina Panthers, and I'm sitting there watching them melt the clock away. I'm like, dude, we're down 3 scores. There's no way we can afford for them to go on a 10-minute march. And even if it ends in a field goal and it's still 3 scores, there's no way we can come back with our offense not having Terry, the one guy that can spark a big play. There's no way we can come back if we don't have any time. This is awful. Felt like they were dominating us. They were running it. They were converting on third downs. They were getting into third and shorts, and Teddy was hurting us with his legs. And just like the Giants game, the first time, it ended without points. Chase forces the fumble, recovers it. Damage was done, though, on the clock. And then, like the second Giants game, and that's what I said was the 2 Giants games rolled into one. The second Giants game, They were up 20-3 at halftime. We were down 20-3 again in this game to the Panthers. Like, this is just crazy, man. This is crazy. Anyway, I wasn't as pessimistic after the game. Hurts might be able to light us up. We still haven't figured out how to stop mobile quarterbacks. That is a concern for me, which is why one of the reasons that I didn't want this game to matter, because I don't like that matchup. But that being said, I still think we can do a good enough job to limit them. We'll see. CGM87, thank you for doubling up. Double up. Greatly appreciate you, CGM87, who writes, Masco can stay, fire Sam Mills. Sheffers is a horrific ref. We always lose against. By the way, if Dwayne fumbles, women like football, I see why he goes to the club. So you finally come around on Matsko, because earlier in the season you wanted him gone. He's done a phenomenal job with this offensive line, so I'm glad you've come around there. Sam Mills is our defensive line coach. I don't have a problem with the way that they've played this season. Sheffers, I actually like Carl Sheffers, despite him killing us yesterday. I actually like Carl Sheffers. I actually think he's one of the better officials. But they struggled yesterday, for sure. As far as Dwayne is concerned, no comment. I have no comment on that one whatsoever. Got another super chat. This one is from Ishmael Benitez. Thank you for the super chat, Ishmael Benitez, who writes, you shouldn't trust Kyle Allen, 2 first names. I grew up where Allen wasn't a first name, it was a last name. Now, Allen could be considered a first name, absolutely. Like Allen Robinson, all right? I look at Allen Robinson as having 2 last names. Allen, for me, all the people I grew up with, their last names was Allen. I didn't have a bunch of Allens as a first name. You remember Terry Allen, the running back that played for Washington? Had a really good run here in like 94 and 95 and 96. Last name was Allen. Like, I grew up with people having the last name Allen, not the first name. So for me, and I told you, this varies for each person. For me, Allen is not a first name, it's a last name. So I don't have a problem with Kyle Allen. So I can trust him, but you cannot trust him because he's got 2 first names if you'd like. You're allowed to do that. For me, he's got a first and a last name, and I'm okay with that. But for you, it might be 2 first names. It's a first and a last for me, so I'm good. But I totally get where you're coming from. Zach LaRoche, thank you for the super chat. Zach LaRoche, greatly appreciate you, writes, with Haskins getting cut, do you think we'll get a sweet new deal on Kingdom of Pride? No, I don't think .com. I don't think there'll be any Black Friday specials or anything like that. No Christmas or New Year's Eve specials. And no Dwayne just got fired specials. No pink slip specials. He'll need every single penny from that now. So you got to pay full price. There will be no deals. Let me stop. That's not nice. Let me stop. Man just got fired today. Let me stop. Hey, you wrong for that, Zach. K80 Tick, thank you for the super chat and tripling up. K80 Tick, greatly appreciate you, who writes, Cowboys trash defense held Hurts to 17 points. Again, I got to watch the game, and I'll have a report for you tomorrow as to how they were able to accomplish that. One thing you can say about the Cowboys defense, yep, it's trash. They've got athletes up front, guys that can run. So they can frustrate you. They can make some things happen. Their front is not trash. Everything, and their linebackers aren't trash either. Their secondary is the real problem. So I'll watch, and I'll report my findings tomorrow, and you'll know what it is. So anyway, That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Washington Football Nightly. I thank you guys for this special edition of the show. I didn't expect this to happen. I'm not going to sit here and act like I thought this. A lot of you thought this was a realistic possibility. I did not. I didn't think Dwayne Haskins was going to get released. I told you I wanted to extract any value out of him I could. But let's be honest. There was no value here to extract. This guy's damaged goods. He hasn't performed well on the field. He's been a controversy magnet off the field. Nobody was going to give us anything for him. And they knew it. And really, this was addition by subtraction. What it all boils down to is they moved on from a guy that was like a leech. He was sucking the life out of this team, and he wasn't contributing anything back in. He wasn't giving us anything back. He was just taking. And at this point, they just needed to move on from him in order to maintain peace, dignity, and to keep this team together as one, I think. And so the move has been made, and now the deed is done. Dwayne Haskins is gone. I wish him nothing but the best, but I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't relieved that this is over. We can move on, and hopefully we get the next one right. It's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I thank you guys. If you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? Go ahead and subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And if you're out there, we're at 290 likes. Please hit that like button. Let's get it to 300. All right. And if you haven't hit it, hit the like button. Let's get it to 300. Let's get it to 350. Hell, let's get it to 400 if we can. I really do appreciate you guys once again for chopping it up with me. I'll be back for Monday Night Football overtime. Bills, Patriots. And then I'll have a podcast tomorrow, and that'll be it. Now, we'll still have the Washington shows the rest of the week as we prepare for Week 17, but that's what the schedule is going to look like this week as well. So with that all taken care of, you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30.